All right. And we are live. The last word with Lord Cognito, Ebontis, and Ty Guy Travis on that Friday evening campfire back again. Good to see your faces. I got all the slander while I was sick, but it's good to be back. First, let's start with E. You know what I'm saying? We do have a very special guest, but let's start with E, man. How you doing, brother?
Been good. I beat Returnal. So I
Wow.
rolled
Congrats.
credits on that thing. That is a fantastic journey. It's kind of one of those, like, how do I tell somebody about it? It's like third person shooter, bullet hell from the old arcades, and also roguelike with an insanely cryptic story. Yet when you get to the end and you roll the credits, I'm like, damn, it was really cool. I'd taken a break from it for like a good few weeks and trying to do other things. And finally I was like, I picked it up again, started going, and just like started making progress, beat the third boss, which was kind of a wall, and then the fifth one as well. Man, yeah, it just kind of started to come together, found a weapon I really liked, and yeah, finally got to the end and was sitting there. I finished it off stream, sadly, because I was just like, hey, let me kick on and see if I can get a run going. And sure enough, I'm sitting there in the last like 30 minutes, like, I think I'm near the boss. So I just like,
Yeah,
I
you
literally
just
streamed
all.
it to my Discord for a couple of people that I know, my regulars in here.
Oh, okay.
I got recorded it, but yeah, that was really cool. So yeah, that was my big one
Yes.
for the week. Everything else has been pretty chill, the usual grind. Travis, what have you been up to? I
Travis?
know one of them because it got published today. What have
right.
you been
Yeah,
doing, man?
I'm doing reviews and previews all week for IGN. It's been an incredibly busy week, what with IGN's first, which is focusing on the Steam Deck that got
Woo,
announced this
great
week.
coverage. You guys killed
IGN got
that.
that scoop. Ryan McCaffrey, he's the
Oh,
GOAT.
the GOAT, the
for sure.
legend.
Yeah, so that was huge. We unveiled a new strategy game. I wasn't really a part of that coverage. And then the new Switch, we covered that as well. And then I did the review of Skyward Sword HD. I did a
Ooh.
preview for Origami 2, which was also an IGN exclusive, and then a preview for an upcoming MMO called Ashes of Creation. So really busy week for me, man. But it's mostly in the rear view, and now I'm focusing on the new Ace Attorney game that's coming out. I'm starting to play that, so that's the next thing I'll be working on.
Oh, you in the grind, sir. You're in the grind,
Yeah,
sir.
I know. It's been a really busy week.
E, I think we got somebody special here, right?
So we got a guest. He's sitting there patiently waiting. So let's add him to the campfire the best way we know how. This one's yours, sir.
No doubt. Welcome
everybody. Thank
to
you.
the last word. But I'm not done with you because you get a nice intro.
You get the cog intro.
Welcome to the last word, episode number 158. And it's Glorious Friday. We're back in front of the campfire for some more looter shooter discussion. I'm extremely excited about our special guest, so we're going to get right into it. I want to introduce a lord whose analytical and helpful approach to endgame content represents the epitome of low-man challenges and informative guide strats, all done with a hilarious sense of humor. Introducing the creator and host of the above YouTube and Twitch channel and proud member of Clan Obtained, the Lord of Boss Bakes and Grandmaster Gauntlets, who still puts those gods on the line for the people to decide. Live from Seattle and making his debut at the campfire of the last word, my man, Lord Above. How we doing, sir?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I'm worthy of that intro. I'm like sweating from that. I'm doing fantastic.
Blush. We made him blush.
You guys, thank you for having me on.
Oh,
y'all did your research. Holy moly. I mean, you gassed it up like it could be way cooler than it is, but
this is why you can't interrupt the intro.
It interrupted, man.
Yeah.
I was just messing with you. He didn't know what was going on. He was like, yo, what's
He's like, yeah, I'm here. What's up? He's like, no.
Yo, what's me?
You wait. You get your turn. You wait.
Salute,
oh my gosh.
You've been killing, brother. Glad to have you. How you been, man? What's going on?
Appreciate it. I've been good. So yeah, I actually just went full-time as a content creator last month. And so the last 30 days has been wild, to say the least. Like, especially with GM season rolling around and Master VOG dropping. And yeah, it's been crazy busy, but loving every second.
Nice. So we got a lot of questions for him. You know what I mean? So E, you want to set it off first?
Yeah, I kind of like your gaming history for what you kind of started off with and who you got to play it with. So just a little recap of who you actually started your gaming journey with, because not everybody gets to do that. And I just wanted to make sure we kind of get to share this one with everybody.
Yep. Yeah, so I actually started the first fond memory I have of gaming was actually, I mean, I'm way past my prime now, so we're going all the way back to the N64 days.
We're older than you. You're fine.
Yeah,
It's
you're fine.
it was actually Mario 64 with my mom. We were playing in our playroom. Like I remember it. We would just she introduced me to video games. She like fell in love with it, and then we played through. I don't know if you guys have played that game before, but you basically
120
have to
stars
collect
later. Yeah.
120 stars. We got 119. We could never get the 120th. This was before YouTube and guides and everything else, which maybe is what inspired me to do guides on YouTube. I don't know. Maybe that's, it's subtle messaging, but yeah, I have such fond memories of doing that with my mom. And then I just kind of gamed all my life. Yeah, but it all started with her.
No doubt, no
That's
doubt.
awesome.
Yeah, Trav, any questions to start with the history? Any other questions before I jump in?
Yeah. I mean, is it too early to get into the how he got into Destiny thing?
Go
wherever you want to go with it, brother.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, you mentioned obviously Super Mario, which I also loved that game as a kid and had the same issue of not having the internet. Like the guide for me was you ask your friends, like, did you find all the stars in this world and that sort of stuff, which I loved. But yeah, obviously Destiny is a pretty different game from a collectathon platformer. So how did you sort of get into the shooter world or get introduced to Bungie specifically and find yourself as a Destiny guy?
I've always been like extremely competitive. So in high school, I played baseball, and then as that part of my life kind of faded out, I picked up video games to fulfill like my competitive side. And so in the late parts of high school, early college, became a semi-professional Call of Duty player. Like we would scrim against like Optic and stuff and all sorts of that. So yeah, I mean, I took it like very seriously while I was going to school. Um, and then that kind of just faded out. Kind of lost interest in COD, and then a bunch of my friends, like as school picked up, and your capstone classes towards the end of college really start kicking in. You have less time. I picked up Destiny casually, and this was like right as it was coming out. So played the beta, loved it, and then it came out, and all of our friends did Vault of Glass. When we eventually got leveled, did it completely blind, no spoilers. We did the same thing with Crota.
Wow.
Loved it, and then I actually took a hiatus during college because super focused. I got an internship. I studied business and marketing in college, and I got an internship with a what's it called? A PR firm. So I was with them for a couple years. Wasn't really playing video games all that much, so I played like FIFA on the side casually and things like that. And then right before Destiny 2 came out, like I loved it so much. It was just when the Crota era rolled around, there wasn't much to do. I'm sure you guys remember those days. It was kind of like, okay, we did it. Now we're kind of just waiting here. It
The
was like
content
the
droughts.
content droughts. Yeah.
Yep.
So I stopped playing. But then I saw Destiny 2 was coming and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited about this because I had more time now. I was more stable with my job. And I got back into Destiny 1 like a few weeks before D2 dropped.
Get the feel
Grinded the
back.
hell out of everything. Yeah, like I did everything in like a month. And then I was so hyped for D2 and have been playing pretty much since launch.
No doubt, no doubt. This
Yeah.
is cool history. I want to stay back on Destiny. So in the beginning, because we gotta have some subclass violence.
Yeah, I
in
was
the
like,
beginning,
half of this podcast on this side just lost.
Yes. So in the beginning, I'm sensing a man of culture. I'm sensing a man that wears those
Hunters
royal
have culture?
robes.
What?
But I'm feeling warlock vibes, but yet I still feel I see that thing behind you, and I'm concerned.
He's a hunter. He has it on his wall. Quit trying to make. He's trying to reach.
Cognito's
like, you're a floofy boy, aren't you?
It's a very, very studious gentleman. He's very cultured, and I just it seems to go against this thing in the back.
Well,
yeah, Cog's just reaching
funny.
right now. This is fun.
Everything shifted so much. So in D1, literally all I played was Night Stalker. That's like that was it. Beginning of D2, I was Night Stalker main. I played nothing else, didn't have any other characters. So, and that's actually like when I bought these. It was like years and years ago. And then Icarus Dash came out and Well came out, and I was like, dude,
come on,
Warlocks
baby.
are pretty sweet. I'm gonna start playing them. And so I did a couple day one races on Warlocks, and then I did DSC on a Warlock, which we finished 56th in that one, and then most recently on VOG, I played a Hunter and we got 31st. So I can't. I play both. The Titans are tough, right? Like
talk to him, get him. Yes. No, don't worry. Speak freely. You are not under duress. It's a Titan zone.
All I'm gonna say is between D1.
What'd you say?
All I can say is between D1 and D2, those bubbles and those Sentinel shields do seem to have some importance every so often. I'm just gonna leave that out there. So
they just didn't appeal to the man. Continue, above.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm kind of like a split between Hunter Warlock. Those are my two. I play Titan sometimes. They had the Curious Titan exotic is a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie. Just bashing your head against the boss and killing it instantly is pretty cool. So
that's how we do it.
Yeah.
Before I pass it back to you, I just gotta ask the favorite. If you could only have one of those subclasses, within either the Warlock or the Hunter tree, what's the favorite?
Oh man. At its peak. I'm not sure you guys remember Oppressive Darkness when that was around.
Yeah, a little bit.
Nova Bomb Controverse Hold Warlock was like the most fun class. I had so much fun doing that. That would probably be my favorite.
Wielded the darkness of the void. This is good guy. I like this guy. Continue. Questioning's done on my side or something. He's passed for flying colors. Continue.
And Cognito's over here like, check. Next.
Welcome back every time at the campfire, sir.
Why couldn't he be on the last episode when we had 3 Titans?
Seriously, yeah.
I conveniently avoided
me, Travis, Sarah, we're just talking all Titans. Would love to have the minority then, but no.
I will say this about Titans. I have some teammates, actually one of which, one of my day one teammates just got world's second solo Atheon last night. His name's T. Yes. He's, I have huge respect for really good Titan players because they make a very big difference. I just personally am not a fan. But yeah, they're incredibly underrated because I feel like they're kind of the backbone of your team. They do all of the dirty work, but don't get all the credit. You know what I'm saying? So
we're back there doing the squats and the deadlifts, and you guys are up there like flexing all the little details.
Don't tell T I said that though, but yeah, I guess they're all right.
They're all right.
I see Warlocks skip leg day. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, Warlocks definitely skip leg day. They're wearing dresses to cover up those chicken legs. Are you kidding me?
We're flexing the brain fibers. We do all the cognitive work.
Well,
smarter, not harder.
Everybody's got a different role, I guess. That's the thing. We'll just carry you on our back. It's fine. I did want to actually kind of catch one story though. You said like in college, shout out by the way to the world of being married. But yeah, you actually moved in. How did you meet your wife? Because I wanted a little more of the story. So tell us how that actually happened, because it seems proximity worked.
She's in chat right now, actually. She's Above's Love in chat. But yeah,
nice.
So
hello.
I actually went to a community college near me for 2 years, and then when I was going into my junior year, I transferred to Western, which is up north from me, in the Seattle area. And yeah, I literally saw these apartments out of the corner of my eyes. I was like, Dad, those look pretty nice. We should go check those out. Moved in, and turns out I moved into the next door to my future wife. So kind of a crazy,
that's awesome.
That's
literally the girl next door. So yeah, we ended up we hit it off, and the rest is history.
Is there like a movie scene where you're both walking groceries upstairs, you turn and look and be like, she's cute, and you go inside, and later on
she drops that tomato that just rolls down a stair. Pick it up and present it to her.
I've got your tomato. Would you like your tomato?
Honestly, there is a story. We told it at our wedding. So as a college student, she had no idea how much salmon was like normal to buy at a store. So she bought 3 pounds of salmon for herself. And so naturally she was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to eat all this. So she knocked on her door and was like, hey, I don't have a grill. Do you guys want to grill the salmon for me? And like being broke college students next door to a really attractive girl, we were like,
yeah, I'm going to figure this out.
we're down. Like, is there a catch that we should be aware? Like, what's happening? So yeah, we
Where's the boyfriend? When is he coming over to eat this salmon?
She's in the chat. She's like, she's laughing. She said, true story. Continue.
It is. It's weird. It's a wild story, but yeah, so we grilled and she brought a nice bottle of wine and we just hit it off and the rest is history. We've been married 5 years in about a month. So
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Wow.
brother. 5 years.
What did she buy the whole fish? Did she buy like the whole fish or was it just like all at once? Like
she bought like the pack leader, I mean like
the Costco.
Yeah, like the jumbo. I don't know. We were just like, what happened? Like, where did we go wrong? But I'm glad she did. I'm glad she had no idea what she was doing shopping.
Hey,
so
there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually really awesome though. I saw that and I was like, the next door, I'm like, all right, I want to know the story. It's like, is this a movie? And shout out to your golden retriever, Maddie, by the way, because my dogs they want to be on show too if you can't hear them. So
that's awesome. Yeah, we that's our kid before the kid. That's how we're training, so to speak.
It's a nice baby step. They have a lot of similarities, I hear.
Yes.
See what I did there?
I see the vision. Trav, what you got, man?
Trav, anything else?
The legend above.
Well, our go-to question on this show, or sorry, their go-to question on this show, since I'm just crashing it, is your favorite raid. Destiny, or if you had to rate, if you prefer to do a top 3 ranking,
sunsetted or not, like all time.
Top 3 franchise is usually what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. I have
since you've been around long enough to see them all.
He's like, I've never done a raid.
This might get me in trouble, but I've never done Kingsfall ever.
Whoa!
I thought you literally said you did everything. That's a big giant lie now. No, you said you did D1 and you had a month. I'm like, I did everything.
Caught up on D2.
There's a big giant asterisk over here.
Getting emotional.
So here's the thing.
I mean, it's
one
kind
of the
of a
things
big
that
deal.
encouraged me to get into helps, honestly, was I was a solo player when I came back. I had like nobody to play with, and not having the in-game LFG. So I wanted to create a community where it was like a very friendly environment. People could come in and learn, and not feel bad that they don't know all the raid mechanics. They don't know what to do, as T-Storm would like to put on LFG. But yeah, I don't know. Never did that one, but top 3 raids all time for me. In terms of most memorable, I think just surrounding everything, Last Wish would have to be number 1. Just because I remember it was before I got into like really, I guess, the quote unquote competitive side of Destiny, like actually raiding for world's first and that sort of thing. That was still a little bit before I started diving into it, but I remember just the hype leading up and the power grind and getting to the Dreaming City. I think it was everything surrounding it that made it so special. Like end game destination, so much like it's such a grind leading up to it, and then you get in there and it's just a banger from start to finish. They just knocked it out of the park. And then everything that cascaded off of the raid too. I mean, you have the story. My good friend Evan made a video on Last Wish.
Legend.
I mean, the story of that is just the storytelling behind that raid is just incredible. And then, it led to the Corrupted coming out and Shattered Throne 3 weeks later, which is something we had never experienced before. So
talk to him.
For me, that has to be number 1. For sure.
Justified. I like it.
I gotta respect it, man. I tell people a lot, like, I don't get mad when people say Last Wish, especially what you said, like the lead up, getting the talisman done just to get to the Dreaming City. Then you get to the Dreaming City and it's this beautiful, looking like some Tolkien, you know what I'm saying, Lord of the Rings. Like, it looked amazing. And then, like you said, the lore, the Shattered Throne, fire. All right, what's number 2 and 3? We gotta know.
Oh, man.
I'm still waiting for the person to come on here and just say Leviathan number 1 and just drop mic.
Oh, man. I respect what Leviathan, Levy did.
1, 2, and
really
3.
cool
There's
idea. The environment was incredible, but the replayability just wasn't there for me. Man, that's tough. Probably Wrath number 2.
Oh, very fun raid.
Now you're talking Cogs language.
Yeah, very fun raid. Very fun raid.
Siege Engine. Underrated encounter.
Yes, Siege. Yeah, very. They still never really replicated anything like that, Travis, right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a moving encounter. That's a very large space, and they really don't do that much. I mean, what am I trying? Suro Chi is the only is a rare one where you're actually
Like
traversing a
moving,
decent amount of ground.
traversing, yeah.
But just the scale of the siege machine too is it's legit.
Yeah.
And the little
Closest we
parts.
ever got to a train heist in Destiny.
Yes,
True.
yes,
That is true.
One more.
mean,
One more.
This one might be controversial. Part of it is, I mean, it's definitely nostalgia.
I love
Because
how you
VOG was the
preface
first
every
raid.
one of these
I
with
have
something
to,
else.
man, because everybody's like, bro, what the hell?
Let's go 1, 2, 3 and leave it there and let everybody
He's already
interpret
done
it.
with you.
I'm like, all right, listen.
No,
So,
he justified Last Wish totally fine. I have nothing wrong with that.
No. I know why.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Continue.
I was just gonna say, I think for me, because VOG was the first. I mean, for everybody, it was the first raid, pretty much that most Destiny long-term players did.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a magnificent job bringing it into D2. Like the base version, the day one race and how they structured that was actually such a good time. I think it was super well received by the community. The master version, not so fond of. But that day one race and Tempo's Edge, the challenge version, to actually compete for day one was really, really fun. I thought they kept the identity of the raid and adding a few mechanics in that stressed communication so much more than the base raid did, so everybody feels like they're doing something, and it kept the identity really well. So yeah, I think probably VOG number 3.
Agreed, especially with the Oracle call out stuff. It was they added a little bit more. And I want to shout you out though, because you put me on to something about VOG that I didn't even realize, and I gotta shout you out. Was that void mod? What is it? Superstructure defender. Bro, I did not know about that. I came across your video. I didn't know you at the time, and your video came up, and I was just like, yo, this is super powerful. That stacks with like breach and clear and all this stuff. I'm like, yo, everything is getting changed to void immediately. Yeah, man. But now, salute to you on that. VOG, obviously, it's nostalgic. But I will say this: I'm a surprise E right now. It is criminal that you have not played King's Fall.
I know.
And what I'm hoping is you do get, in the legacy content that reimagined, because it's going to be cool for you to experience it the first time. Because don't get me wrong, it's a high point of contention here, but at the end of the day, I cannot disrespect King's Fall. It is an amazing. That is a rage.
I've heard too. Bro. I've heard it's just.
He's like, I know. I've been told 6,000 times.
I have, and it's tough because I want to go back and play it, but I don't have a console right now, and it's like, do I really want to?
You also don't want to go play in like the slimy Vaseline molasses 30 frames per second. You can't do that. You can't go back.
Plus, they're unvaulting stuff, and it's like, how far away really is King's Fall? Like, it could be, it could be the next raid they do.
I was like, it's July or August of next year.
But the other thing is like, I'm very competitive on day one races, so I'm gonna, and I have no idea. I've not watched a second on it, and that's on purpose. I want to go in eventually and do it completely blind. But if it comes out for the day one race, I'm gonna have to just research it ahead of time. I'm like, I have to, otherwise we're not gonna be able to compete.
You don't know about you don't know about the final boss?
I know, I've seen like little bits. I don't know like the actual mechanics. I've seen.
Oh, please go blind. I know you do day ones, but honestly, like,
I'm probably gonna borrow.
Try and do blind.
I think I gotta borrow a console and go in blind on a day where it's like, it doesn't really mean anything, because I want to compete in that day one race, but.
Yeah, I
definitely want to go in blind as well.
If you haven't seen it and you haven't actually been that spoiled, I'm surprised. If you can find a way at some, it's like I would have looked it up by now.
Intentional. People have been like, dude, just watch. Like, you need to just. I'm like, no, I really don't. I don't want to. I want to have that opportunity someday. So
if they're gonna
play it on Xbox, I bet you Cog and I would do it with you.
Oh yeah, I do that definitely.
I'll figure out a way. If y'all want to do that, I'm more than down. I would love to.
We're still a season away from crossplay. Let's not. We got to get Ian. That's his. I can't do it without Ian. Like, that's his raid. I would have to do it.
Wow.
Come on. At the end of the day, we fought blood and tears over that, and even though I love it, it's a matter of comparing Picasso's. At the end of the day, it's like. It is a great raid, and I would love to experience that. All of us, we should do that together.
Mm-hmm. I would love to. That'd be awesome.
No doubt. E, what you got, man?
Well, it's been an interesting week. And since he actually mentioned it before, we got to see Master VOG challenge number 2. And since we have a man who is fresh off the take on it, I actually wanted to get his thoughts on just Master VOG for the 2 weeks we've had so far, and then just the way Master has been implemented for VOG in general, since difficulty hasn't been a thing in raids for a while, especially done in this way. And I wanted to get his take on it. So it seemed like a perfect way to lead into current activities. Sir?
Awesome. This is going to be another preface moment. So I like giving feedback respectfully.
I'm going to have footnotes and asterisks and everything in the script of this show.
That is trash.
No idea. Yeah,
wow. Wow.
Clip that, E. Clip that.
I would say I love the idea of multiple levels of raids, like D1 hard mode. I did a couple of those. That was like probably the highlight of Destiny for me. I love that they're doing that in D2. I hate that most of it's artificial. Like, even though I spend a lot of time in Grandmasters, and I know that they have, you know, obviously Witch Queen coming up, so a lot of their dev teams assigned to, you know, that side of the content. I think even adapting small changes into mechanics instead of it all being artifact power leveling that no one wants to do, and the fact that you can over level for it, I feel like they would have just been better off doing a contest modifier. You need to be a minimum base power, which just make it the max power, and you know, the whatever, like the plus 15 on the artifact. Make people go in under contest. It seems like a really fair balance, and then you add in those negative modifiers that aren't that bad, and I think people would have it'd be more approachable but still harder than the regular version. And I've heard friends of mine say, like, you know, for the oracles, just have them flash once instead of twice. Like little changes like that, to just pick up the pace of the encounter, make it more punishing.
So you mean mechanics changes?
Yeah, just like light mechanic changes. It doesn't have to be anything groundbreaking.
That's what they used to do.
Make it do 4 confluxes to defend instead of 3. You know,
you would love King's Fall.
Seriously,
sure
like, yeah, that is, you would be in your bag right now. Yeah.
Yeah, continue.
But yeah, like any small changes, contest power, so it doesn't involve the artifact, I think would be really healthy for the game. And I think they have a huge incentive problem in Master VOG. Like the Gatekeepers Challenge, I released a guide for that on YouTube, and so many people came in like, oh my god, we tried for hours and hours, could not get this done. This is the hardest thing in Destiny. Like, I have so many comments of just endless things like that. And I think a lot of it just comes down to, like, you literally just turn a corner and you follow, like, your character just dissolves because you're 30 power under, your weapons are 30 power under the 1350 cap. It just seems so artificially hard that people get in there, they'll complete it once, and then they'll go farm normal Templar, fill up on spoils, and come back and purchase multiple versions of the adept weapon for that week. I don't think time gating the weapon drops is healthy. And I think it shows an incentive problem if your players are going to do it once and then immediately go back to the normal version, farm up spoils, and then come purchase additional versions of the weapon that they earned. It just doesn't seem like a healthy design to me. I would love to see, you know, adept armor drop. Like, there's literally no reason to go through an entire master version. Do the pit treatment. Like, they have such good ideas in this game. It just seems inconsistent between activities. Like the anarchy drop rate fix, they did that, and then Eyes of Tomorrow's bugged for 6 months, right?
And then they fixed Eyes of Tomorrow. Yeah.
And they didn't fix it. Yeah. And it's like, I just wish they would be more consistent. If in the master version, one of the things I thought would be really cool, imagine you have an 11th or maybe even a 12th power slot for your mods, or just make the raid mods free. Like, that's such a small change, but is the incentive to actually go through and, like, try and farm that armor out. If you want it to be valuable everywhere, do 11 mod slot power, or do the 14 guaranteed base stats like they do from Pit. So many people go farm Pit.
Dude, I'm sorry. Like,
get it.
Oh my god, you are so in my head, because I've been saying we've had this thing. Because, like, my biggest thing right now, armor is useless. all armor you're getting right now is just the same stuff over and over and over and over. It's like, oh, here's a stat. It's like even like Zur or high stat rolls or spiky. And I see people tweet about them. I'm like, it helps, but it doesn't change the game. It doesn't change your builds, your loadouts. You're still stuck at 10. And if you're going to go do a master difficulty, you're like, oh, I got a high stat roll. Cool. It's not like, hey, this thing started with a base of 80. People would be like, oh, I just lost my mind. I have to go get this 80 stat roll now. It's like, no. Or this thing has 12, 13, 14 energy. I can use a lot more mods or beefier mods, things of that nature. So
even like 1 to 2 does such a big thing for the hardcore players, because now you can slot a scavenger mod and you can slot an oracle disruptor. Like that's so small.
Yeah.
And like most people aren't going to notice it, but the hardcore players will notice it, you know? Just give them something to chase. And then in terms of the weapons being locked, I mean, I guess that's fine if they fix the incentive issues for every other encounter. But I don't like the time gated nature of it, and I don't like that you can repurchase for spoils, because it just completely negates the need to go back and farm master raids, which should be like the pinnacle thing you go and farm. We literally farm grandmasters all the time. Like people are just living that playlist, and then masters you're going to touch once for the rotating weapon and you're never going to touch it again. And I that's unfortunate, because it's a really cool addition to the game, but they're just not, there's no reason to run it back. So I think if you got rid of the spoils chest or made it significantly more expensive and made it so that you had to spend a separate type of like master spoils on it, then I think you might have something there. But I don't know. The D1 version, when you were incentivized to go back and actually grind, you know, your clears every week and get those weapons, like god rolls. I feel like it's so easy now, because now they have curated rolls. Like the curated Fatebringer is literally Firefly explosive. So first try, it's like, okay, well, you're done farming. You know, you might go for like an explosive frenzy roll or something, but it's just going to be that quick loop, and then people are done with the activity, which I don't think is necessarily super healthy. So
Travis, you have discerning eyes. I'm very curious what you have thoughts.
Do you have any thoughts about master rewards?
I mean, I do. And I think all the points that Above made are great. It's just hard for me as a PvP player to look over at the PvE landscape and hear you guys complain about not having rewards.
Okay, I want the same thing.
It's not that they don't have rewards, it's that they could be structured so much better.
I
100% agree. And as a sweat lord like the rest of you guys, the grandmasters are so they're not worth it to me. Like I've done a bunch of them and I'm just like, all right, yeah, this is like 30 minutes of me focusing on killing enemies that I could have killed super easily in a regular strike, but because it's grandmaster, arbitrarily they're super powerful. And then the reward is that I get like a slightly better version of a weapon. Not worth it for me. And Trials has the same problem, where the stuff you get out of Trials, we've talked about this on this show a bunch, which is just like, it's not worth the effort versus payoff. So I 100% agree with you. It's more that like, I haven't had a map in 2 years. You know what I mean? Like I'm over here, like I'm over here starving, and like, you know,
give him a cracker at least.
So that's why I was laughing. I was just smiling because I was just thinking to myself, like, these guys, they got new activities, they got a remastered raid, and then they got a master version on top of it, and I'm over here starved to death. You know, but whatever.
Clips for the 4th.
Yeah.
But it's like the same thing should apply to things like Trials, or if they ever fix competitive, be like, hey, if you're in diamond rank or however, if they ever get to something like that, have adept levels of armor, as you said, a little bit more space in the energy slot, little higher stat rolls that are like, you know, their high version of a stat roll is like 57 and above, and it just makes me laugh when everybody knows, like, if it's not like 61, 62, if it says 5, no.
Yeah.
So like if they took something and be like, hey, now it's 70, because then if 70 something was distributed over the course of this, you might be like, hey, it's not perfect, but I was like, there's a little bit more here to work with, and it could set it apart. Just 1 or 2 energy, higher tier of stat roll to be like, this is something better. And I think I listened to Dado put a good video about some of this stuff, and like he comes from a World of Warcraft background. I know I do, but the idea is like, if you do medium tier stuff, you can get medium tier things. We can do all this basic level stuff right now. You're like, hey, I go do Crucible. You could randomly get a piece of armor that's actually got a pretty good stat roll on it. But then you can go get the same thing from a raid, and those two, or trials, and those two should not equate. If you do the high level stuff, your rewards truly need to be set apart. Like, you know, if you get a time lost Fatebringer, what if the range, the reload speed, that stuff was higher above? If you got a Desperado, you know, an adept Desperado messenger, I know they're always worried about the PvP and the PvE balance, and I know that's where that whole argument comes back to. But that type of crazy difficult stuff, the juice has to be worth the squeeze. And right now, I'm with you. Like, it's not. So
yeah.
Well,
it's tough too, because I honestly. So one of the things, Travis, that you were talking about, like the PvP side, I actually tweeted about this literally yesterday. I was talking about how cool would it have been if, like, say next season, which could potentially be a 6-month season. We have no idea leading up to launch of Witch Queen. What if you like, you want to build PvP hype and get people back into the Trials playlist? Bring back 2 maps. Like, I know asking for a bunch of new maps is a tall ask. Obviously, like, they're struggling to get them out for whatever reason. So bring back 2 fan favorites from D1. If you're able to produce 2 maps, one on Europa would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Come on.
Yeah, we are due.
The expansion. It would be nice.
And imagine you get no information about that leading up ahead of time to Trials, and then they debut 1 map every week for a month in the Trials playlist, and you just go in and you play the map for literally the first time. That would build so much hype. People would get so excited to go in there, and you add a new weapon on top of it. I feel like so many people would jump back into the playlist. And then, you know, obviously there's like the cheating issue and that sort of thing, completely separate, but I feel like that would be so much healthier and actually like give PvP players something to like be excited about and have a healthy population again, at least for a little while.
It just says something about me. Earlier when you were talking about your history with gaming, you said that you were like semi-pro at Call of Duty. So you have that competitive side. Clearly, you've got the trigger fingers to do comp, and then you play PvE on Destiny. And I think that says a lot about Destiny's PvP support.
Yeah.
If you kind of have those roots as a PvP player, and Destiny is like kind of pushed you back into the PvE side of things. So I think you're right. Like we are the stepchildren, Cog and I, the forgotten stepchildren. Living underneath the stairs. That's us on the PvP side.
Harry Potter, if you will. Yeah. It's tough.
Except for the letter from my owl got lost in the mail. It's just all tragedy. My whole life.
Hagrid has not made it to your house to break down the door yet either.
He has not. He's not.
Damn.
No.
Sorry, we went deep on the Harry Potter there for a second.
That was Harry Potter deep right there.
I mean,
Big giant
I
nerd.
love the PvP in this game. I really do. Like the gunplay in Destiny, I think it's the reason so many people play. And I think 100%. The thing with Destiny's always been you see the potential on the tip of the fingertips, and you just can't quite grasp it. It's like right there, but something's just slightly off, or they're just missing the mark just a little bit. And I think that's why you have such a passionate fan base of people who get frustrated, because it is like such a special game at its core in the way it feels and the movement and the abilities and everything. And then you have, you know, Titans sliding through walls, getting over shields, and you can't kill anybody in Crucible. It's like,
get him, talk
to
him,
dude, please
talk to him,
fix it. Like, anyway,
let that Titans land to continue.
So yeah, I don't know. I love this game to death, and I hope PvP gets the love it deserves. And I honestly, one change I would love to see across the board would be adept weapon reworks, because right now I don't think they're worth it. I think in the mode that they are in, so like Vault of Glass, for example, similar to how the D1 weapons operated, they should have intrinsic perks in the raid. Trials should be the same way, as an intrinsic perk, not a column perk that you have the option to select.
Yes.
I mean,
but that's a technical limitation, right?
Sadly.
Remember that?
I remember that. Yeah,
always actually. That create your own weapon idea I had for Trials. I still stand by that. It would work.
Pick
the
your
thing
perks.
That doesn't make sense though is like they do that on exotics,
right?
So that's where I'm like, couldn't we not just build it into the fiber of the guns themselves? That's what, I don't know. It's kind of bizarre.
That kind of goes deeper into the discussion of, there's always discussion, well, the engine or things are updated in the background. It's like when I screamed this. Yeah, I was like, and I screamed this when I read it. Like Cog and I were sitting here in one of these, and I don't even remember the guest at the time, but it was when I read that, I was like, oh, you just told me guns are stuck till you change like deep levels of the game, or you put a 3 on it. Because if you're like, hey, too many things can't work, or if there are too many modifiers on or whatever, one of them stops working. I'm like, okay, that means the game is stuck. And that's what's unfortunate.
Like Cog and I said, if they want to fix it, they just have to start selling adept weapons in Eververse, man. Then all of a sudden, all those technical limitations disappear.
Oh, you want to buy that Eververse for 20,000 silver? You can unlock that new mod slot for all weapons and armor, but it just costs a one-time upgrade charge. We still love you, Bungie. We are just giving you a really hard time right now.
We ain't putting that in the universe now.
Oh man!
Don't get him no ideas. Tess she moving out here. We need to give her any type of ideas.
They didn't put that watermarked armor into the game, so they haven't fully taken advantage yet.
Oh man! But yes, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts because I mean I've been seeing Master, had our thoughts about Grandmasters, and as you spend a pretty good amount of time in there. You've definitely deep into the high level stuff. To hear you even say, as it's something you do, but the rewards aren't worth it. It's kind of good to hear from somebody who's like, hey, you don't really play Grandmasters. Why do you have an opinion about them? It's like, well, I can look from afar. And it's like, I don't sound too different from some of the people who do it all the time either. It's like, that's kind of nice to hear. Now, everybody has different opinions, but somebody who's, doing Grandmasters and Master VOGs and doing it all the time, it's nice to know that we're not alone.
I mean, it's just, it's one of those things I hope gets, reworked and you get players excited, because I think most of the time, like you go to help somebody and it's just like next week, for example, it's going to be Conflux's challenge right at the start of the raid. There's no shot I'm doing full master triple help clear, like trying to slog through the whole thing.
Or
especially
nothing.
when the weapon you get is Conflux's, and then if they want to spend their spoils at the end of the raid, you checkpoint the end of the raid.
Yep.
That's just, I mean, that's how the game's designed right now. So that's, it's unfortunate, but hopefully they turn it around.
Well, do you guys want to talk about reputation and ranks?
Yeah.
You guys
No.
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hold on, Travis has an opinion. What's up, man?
No, go ahead.
You're just gonna.
I don't want to talk about it, but go right ahead.
You're just gonna skip this conversation.
Let's get it.
I'll be back in like 20. Just send me a text when we're done. So over the last few seasons, we've been looking to create a unified experience when playing ritual activities in Destiny 2. If you guys are not watching the video, Travis just took a nap.
Yes.
We did some back-end work at the start of season 14 in preparation for a larger scale changes to these reputations, while also preparing for the introduction of Vanguard ranks. Vanguard ranks are going to work very similar to the way Gambit and Crucible ranks work right now. So in season 15, the names Infamy and Valor are going away. So they're just going to be Gambit ranks, Crucible ranks, and Vanguard ranks. Glory will live on. So your competitive playlist is still going to be the mess that it still is. Trials ranks are going to be a thing we're going to hear about. I don't even know what to think about that. So before I go any farther, Trials ranks for the PvP half of this podcast, do you guys have an opinion about, do you want your what are the upgrade modules, and then your prisms and your cores, and then only on the first time do you want to get that shard, and then everything else is, do you want those ranks for Trials, guys?
Clearly, Travis has something to say about this, so I'm gonna let him go first. He's chomping at the bit here. How are we feeling?
No. Just no. This is like the epitome of like Destiny's really awful design, like their reward system right now. And this is like them. I get that they're streamlining it, but really they should be turning the car around and driving the opposite direction, because there's this like ongoing debate of like how much should be done through bounties or how much should be done through these season passes where you're seeing the XP meters go up and you're getting rewards like that. And their solution so far has been, oh, there'll be these nice little repeatable things, but they're basically just, you leveling up. It's not like, it doesn't address the bigger problems, the stuff that Above was talking about earlier, where the actual activities aren't rewarding enough, or like, are people going to be playing Trials to move up that meter so they can get the Ascendant Shard every season? Like, no, that's like obviously not worth it. And it doesn't address the huge problems with it. Now, do I have a problem with them adding a way for me to like passively earn additional rewards in trials? No, that's fine. It's just that like this is another currency. You know how I'm always complaining about currencies? Reputation meters are just more currencies. They're currencies by a different name. No, I'm not having to go and turn in the tokens, but it's the same loop. It's the same like, oh, we don't know what to do with the system, so we'll just like give you a reason to grind it endlessly for like rewards that mean nothing. And ironically, what you're getting when you level up that reputation currency is you're getting more currency. You're getting more currency to infuse into other stuff. Oh, you got an Ascendant Shard, a form of currency to put into your items. It's such an insane loop that it seems
This is Travis. This is Travis Unfiltered.
This is just me, man.
Right now.
Can I jump in on that?
Absolutely, man.
Oh, Bob's ready to clap back. Let me move out the way.
If you guys saw the Valor Overflowing video that I put on. Oh my god. So I can't pick up the materials because I'm always full on prisms and whatever. So you have to come back to the tower to reset your Valor. So I don't do like I'm not gonna like take the time to delete prisms so that I can then pick up prisms so that I can then rank up my Valor and then go back to the activity.
I joked about this a couple weeks ago. Same thing. Yeah.
We were doing a triple Master VOG help. So we were helping 3 people at once. And on the final phase, going into the final conflux, Valor Overflowing pops up while I have the relic. I just swiped and I fell off the cliff with the relic and we wiped because Valor Overflowing took over my screen.
Where did that even come from?
I don't know. Like, how is that even a thing in this game? But apparently it is. On a more serious note, I completely agree with Travis. The only thing I think they could do because I think like one of the things for trials is approachability. If they set that reward structure on a weekly cadence and offered the adept weapon with like maybe missing a couple like key perks, so you know it's not like the top version, but they're able to invest time to get a weapon. They're not the best players, but they put in a certain amount of play time. They should be rewarded too. And especially with like we're getting adepts in GMs and we're getting adepts in VOG and we're getting like all these other places that are much, in my opinion, easier to obtain than the current trials sandbox with cheaters. And I mean, it's just it's littered with people who literally play PvP 24/7. So like, you know, I can get like a team of players and we can go flawless, but it'll even take like and I play with some pretty good players. So like it'll even take us, you know, a couple cards, we'll reset a couple times and then we'll get it. But like I can't imagine the people who just want to go in and like try a new game mode, have fun. They just get pub stomped in like game 1 over and over again. And then they're done with their playlist. Yes. But if they had a progression loop to work towards on a weekly basis, maybe working towards the Adept Ignis or the Adept Sword for the PV side, you're telling me they're not going to at least give the playlist a try and like work towards those rewards? I see a lot of other games do that. Like I know FIFA has weekly reward structures for playing and other things. And I mean, I think that would be pretty healthy, to be honest, but obviously things would have to change.
I was just going to say, I actually really like that idea. You want to know the problem with that? They need to do it everywhere else.
True.
So if they do something like that for trials, like, hey, this is a grind, there's these weapons. If you make it through rank 5 in this season, you can unlock the first set of armor. And then rank 10's a piece of like a weapon. And then, you know, 15's a piece of armor. And then if you do that there and you actually give people stuff they can grind for, the stuff that's harder for them to typically get, and maybe there's like, you know, you can unlock all that stuff in that. I don't know. But I was like, then if you leave like just your upgrade modules and your currencies over at the other vendors and all this other stuff isn't touched, then I wonder if now are we going to be like, well, now trials is good. And now I'm not saying trials doesn't need all the love it can get. It does.
It definitely do.
It does.
And
it definitely do.
The other thing is I don't think you need to do it everywhere. And I don't think you should, because it's one of those things where like, if everything's a priority, nothing is. Yeah. If everything is as rewarding as trials doesn't grow in its player base. And I think they need to come up with specific ways to drive people to these endgame activities and actually make it worth their while. So like Grandmaster Nightfall, maybe the Master raid, but especially trials, because trials PvP has been carrying the longevity of Destiny on its back for years. And it's the reason that people play it for so long. And the fact that that is one of the least effective ways to grow in power and to gain good loot is horrible. Like that's it used to be the one way that you could get elemental effects on your primary weapon slot. Like that was huge. It was a reason everyone like myself was like in there rabidly every weekend trying to go flawless, and it's just nothing like that now. So
I mean, you guys said it best. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, you know, they have to do something to create engagement. I love Above's idea as far as the matching the, you know, the weapon or, you know, pursuit, seasonal pursuit, you know, in there, because again, they've got to figure out a way to incentivize the casual. This is what it comes down to. Like you said, there's nothing more demoralizing than jumping in trials, match one, pub stomped, right? Have no hope that you can even get any farther, and then you bounce. So they've got to figure out a way. Now it seems to be the theme seems to be staying in the mode, and I know we're going to get into it more deeper with the rest of the stuff. But I'm with Travis too. Like trials needs that extra bump. They need that extra incentive so that it's actually skewed towards that. It's suffered so long. I don't even know what the player PvP population numbers are these days. Does anybody even know what's going on?
The thing that's crazy to me, it's not good. Like the player population is very, very small. The thing that's fascinating about trials though is like, even though no one's playing it, they will watch top tier players play it. It's still one of the most popular weekly events on Twitch. You go and watch Frostbolt and he has like 5,000-6,000 viewers on Reset because they want to see what the trials map is, what the loot is. You know, they want to watch high level gameplay, but they don't want to go in there and suffer themselves. So if they made it more approachable, and this goes for everything in Destiny, they had like this, they need to have like the kind of like the marathon or sprint approach to loot. So if you're really good at the game, you can get the best loot very quickly. Or if you invest your time,
I feel you,
and you put the time into it, you can get it too. You might not get as many rolls or the best version necessarily, but you can still get it. You can work towards it. And that's a healthy game structure to have. Like right now, it's just like, okay, new light player, you come in, you hear about trials, you go in, you LFG on an out of game LFG, which
must have KD of.
No, that's a whole nother thing. They get pub stomped, and then they become, you know, what we call jumping Jerry's, which is they just jump.
Oh, yeah, as soon as the penny jump right off the joint. Yup, facts.
To get the weapon at 3 wins, and you know, then you know that's a wrap for the week, and it's just not. I wish. I don't know. There's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a way.
Got to be a better way.
I know, right? Sounds so defeated. No, it's real though. Like they've got to figure that out, because at the end of the day, whatever resources, you know, that you need to pull into this, you have to. And this mode is just too prestigious not for it to be treated with that level of respect as well as that incentive. So I'm with you guys. You know, hopefully we'll see how this is gonna go when they announce it. Right?
That future TWAB's gonna have a lot of eyes on it.
It's gonna be a lot. I'm very curious to see what they do. Trials ranking.
Anywho, tangent aside, which I knew was gonna happen, but that's why I took the pause. We are rebalancing all ranking systems to have similar progression time. Basically, they want Vanguard, Crucible, Gambit ranks to be slightly faster on average. Lets everybody get through those a little quicker. For example, Gambit Infamy is like 15,000 or 18 or 60, some stupidly large number. There will be no longer ritual-specific rules that impede progress. Their bonus weekends are just going to be 2x. They're removing streak bonuses. This is the one I wanted to ask you guys. They're removing streak bonuses, but in exchange, they're going to do activity streak bonuses instead of win streak bonuses. Basically, they looked at how long it takes for players to win nearly every game, say in Crucible or Gambit, and also lose every game. Feels like most people are probably going to do it about twice as fast. Generally, an overall improvement is what it sounds like, I would say. They said glory will continue, which also basically I think means glory will be addressed later. Mostly is what that means. Basically, it seems like you will reset a little bit faster if you win everything, but most people are just going to be progressing on a similar timeline, and Gambit's not going to take you 6 years, which is good. Overall, doesn't seem like a bad thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, it goes with the same, you know, marathon or sprint thing, right? Like, if you lose, you're not going to be punished by having it take 4 times. What did they say? 3 or 4 times longer than if you win every game. So, yeah, I mean, just participate, get your rewards. I think that's the main issue with most playlists. So that's a good change in my opinion.
Rav.
Vanguard ranks. These
That's
are coming.
I agree. It's
Oh,
good.
okay. So to make sure.
Yeah. Shout out to Zavala. He's going to be rolling in tokens.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen what did Tassie had like a 40-minute video of turning his tokens in. Like I saw Datto in his video. It was like, I have 9,000 to turn in. Kill me now. That type of thing. Turn your tokens in before the end of the season. You have a month. Do like 100 a day. Don't just sit there and kill your finger. Just turn in a few, clear out the vault, to get your shards if you care, or just don't care and override everything in the postmaster and just get it over with. Just find a macro and walk away. But Commander Zavala is getting a full reputation system like Shax and Drifter. It's going to start in season 15. It's going to be available for strikes, nightfalls, and battlegrounds, because battlegrounds are not going to be sunset at least until Witch Queen. My assumption is they probably will go away there. I know they've said they will carry through 15 for the reason that they're still part of that Vanguard structure, but as battlegrounds are part of Season the Chosen, I don't know how long they're going to last. I will be curious how they handle that on a story front. They said Nightfalls give a different bonus based on completion medals. So these will count, say, if you get like more champions killed or higher difficulty, you will be getting more reputation. So above over here farming platinum grandmasters, he's going to have 12 million Vanguard reputation and more weapons and armor from Zavala that he knows what to do with. It sounds like.
Yeah, that might be a thing.
Would you please come to the tower? Zavala has a message. You have 14 ranks to clear. Oh crap.
As long as the message doesn't pop up on my screen and cause a wipe.
That's still awful. Yeah. That's still so awful that happens.
Now you're going to have 3 times as many opportunities for that to happen.
It's going to be like Gambit, Infamy, and Valor. They all win at the same time.
Oh, God.
But yeah, he will have a full reputation line similar to Shax and Drifter. Powerful rewards will be granted every 3rd rank, and Ascended Shard will be rewarded when resetting the first time. Anybody else have an issue with that last line? The Ascended Shard. If you go through the rank, you get the Ascended Shard the first time. After you do the first time, it's only an exotic. It never turns into an Ascended Shard again, no matter how many times you fully cycle that thing.
Yeah, that is an interesting choice, right? As to why to gate that to just one reset. Like, I don't know. What do you guys do? I think that's a little strange. Travis, what you think?
Seems odd.
Yeah, I mean, it's been it's not rewarding, man. Like this whole,
Oh, you want another exotic that you can get from Xur, that you can get from Legend Lost Sectors, that you can get from doing the activity? Here's more exotics. Like, that's the only thing I feel like sometimes they have that they can give us outside of, like, the occasional adept weapons, which we just got done beating with a dead horse, is here's more exotic. Yeah, here's more armor or an Ascendant Shard. Like, at least you could give both.
Yeah.
If somebody goes and grinds like 60,000 strikes to go through and they did 10 ranks, they got 5 shards. That means they could do 2 normal pieces of armor and 1 exotic. Like, it's not like they're swimming in shards if they're just living in the strike playlist, but they get one.
They can change the element on 1 piece of masterworked armor.
Yeah,
that's the most expensive thing in Destiny right now, is changing the element on an armor that you have fully masterworked, especially if it is an exotic. It like drains you, dude. It takes like everything.
Yeah. Bro, what do you have? Nothing left.
Like I said, I shout out above. I was in there. All my VOG turned to void as soon as I seen his video. And I wasted bad resources to do it because I was like, because I had the raid mod, but I just didn't have the correct element. That's literally all I'm doing with these resources. And yeah, it's weird. Like, I don't know why they're so ridiculous with shards. Like, I know, especially think about this for again the casual, the new player, right? Like, this guy that I trying to tell him what to do in Destiny and stuff like that. There's not a lot of resources for that, so. Why not? Like, why are we? They want us to live in the activity, but they don't want to reward the same first path for living in it. Like, I don't get it.
It's bizarre. I literally get comments on my videos. How do I get Ascendant Shards? Like, I think I've had that same comment like 5 or 6 times, and I'm just like,
it's either time. It's either time, which we'll get to towards the end of this podcast. From like the season pass and stuff, or as you said, the hardest stuff that like the average solo player is like, I'm sorry, what? I have to do what?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's not a ton of options.
Try explaining a Grandmaster Nightfall to a casual player of Destiny.
Oh God.
It's such a bizarre, like, even idea for an event. So you know those strikes that you do, like, when you're still learning to play the game? Well, they made one where you have to grind to be the maximum level. It takes weeks and weeks to do. And then when you get there, every single enemy kills you in like 2 hits. And you have to heavily research an asinine meta to like put up barriers as the Titan or whatever is the strat for that strike, so that you can get one gun that's a little better.
Right. Then we got to use the head glitch like that above said.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I have to use the head glitch, or I do the
So Travis,
the
are
Furiosa
these
strats usually?
So Travis, are these rewards really good? That sounds like a lot of work.
No. So the funny thing about it is that not only are they not good, but then if you want to fully upgrade those rewards you get, you have to use a currency that you get by doing more Grandmaster Nightfalls. How does that sound?
Yeah.
You want to play?
Is Final Fantasy 14 back on sale yet?
Or a thought, instead of farming the GMs over and over again for that Adept Hungry, just go play the New Light mission and get like a perfect Night Watch that's just way better in every way. Oh God.
Anyway, so as noted above, season 15 will introduce activity streaks. The longer you stay in the Vanguard activity playlist or direct launch, the larger your streak bonus is. Guardians can leave the matchmaking queue to snag bounties from the tower or clean out your postmaster from the helm without losing their streaks. As a note, quitting activities or going AFK extended period of time will invalidate your streak, so be ready to play if you're looking to keep yours going. As with Crucible and Gambit, Zavala will be looking to host week-long reputation bonuses throughout the season. Stay tuned for in-game announcements. So before we get to anything else, thoughts on the activity streaks? Travis is about to bite his finger off, it looks like.
Above, go first.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm fine with it. There better be rewards tied to it. That's all I'm gonna say. Like right now,
it's reputation. That's what you get.
On the game show that I do, which is Grandmaster Gauntlet, we delete god rolls, right? The one weapon I refuse to touch, no matter what. Normally, nothing's off limits.
You're like 100,000 charity option. Nope.
No, yeah, like you could donate so many, like the Royal Entry god roll that I have like the impact casing, auto loading, lasting impression, and that thing is so hard to get because it has a million perks. It doesn't drop very often. And so I just refuse to touch that weapon because I'm like, I will probably never get this gun again.
Yeah.
If you have the activity streak bonus, you should get a significant multiplier on the drop rates of the activity specific loot. So like the empty vessel, which is actually really good, and so is Royal Entry. I would love if they would do something like that. I hope they've thought about that and like do that and reward players for it. I am worried that that's not going to be the case, but yeah, I'm fine with the activity streaks as long as they actually provide benefit to the player, because a lot of that loot's pretty rare right now.
Don't get your hopes up.
I haven't.
Don't be.
That's the unfortunate part. You already know, like, right? They're like, "What are you getting? More reputation. What does that give me?" I go through the ranks again. Like nothing.
Artifact levels.
Yeah, like unfortunately for what you just said, that sounds actually like hey, if you spend more time in this playlist, hey, I'm on my 10th strike. What are your chances of getting a weapon every strike? Like 90%. That'd be awesome, as opposed to just garbage most of the time. Travis, you had an opinion? He has to gather himself.
A playlist that rewards you for staying in it more. You guys know that do you guys remember that arc from Game of Thrones where Theon Greyjoy gets captured by Ramsay Snow?
Yes.
And he's like slowly wearing away his
So this would be Stockholm. You're going to Stockholm syndrome is where you're going, right?
Breaking him and breaking him. That I feel like is what Bungie's been doing to us all these years, just slowly like getting us more and more like like we're like the abused spouse that just can't leave, you know. And this right now, this playlist is that
explicit.
This playlist is them telling us to shave them. You know that scene where he's like, "Shave my face," and Reek is just like, "Yes, sir," and doesn't even think about it. That's what this playlist is to me. It's like this. We just spent this whole show, and like anybody who plays Destiny complains about it. It's like our national pastime as like a community, because we love the game, but we kind of are victims of Stockholm syndrome, and there's just that funny relationship. But everybody has this sort of conversation, and then we see a move like this that's just like, yeah, and now you're going to stay in it even longer, and we're going to give you guys incentives to not leave us. It's like they're just putting out their hand and being like, kiss my ring. That's what it is.
Let me jump in. I mean, I'm not as bleak as Travis. But I do understand.
Shocking.
I think you mean you're not as Reek as Travis.
Reek, yes. I'm not as Reek. Good. That was fire. Those are bars, sir. I respect that. Look, on one hand, I get it, because I got a lot of casual friends. And like, for example, Addict's one of my guys that he's turned into a casual Destiny player now. He's like, he's been beaten down enough. He's like, I'm just going to jump in. I'll do my Tuesday, tune in next week. What's going to happen with the story on Reset. And he loves strikes, though. He loves strikes. So this will actually appeal to him, right? Yeah. He's going to stay in there. He's going to get rewards. He's going to get blessed for that. And he doesn't care about PvP. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't, Gambit, he's okay. He used to like Gambit, but that's where he's at. So on one hand, I like it, because if you love a specific of the three tenets, the holy trinity, that's of strikes and Gambit and PvP, you're going to get rewarded. On the other hand, I do see what Travis is talking about, where it's like forced engagement. And it's
this is for the free-to-play players to fill their playlists,
right?
Basically,
this is again for a person who's casual that just want to do that one thing. It's going to serve its purpose, but it is interesting the way the mechanic works, where it's like, yo, if you leave,
dude, it's like funny. Yeah. It's like somebody gives you something to eat and you taste it and you're like, oh my god, that tastes like crap. Can I have another one? Maybe if I eat 10 more, it'll start tasting good. Like, that's like grinding the same strikes over and over again isn't good. And they're like, well, maybe if we give you an incentive where you have to do it for a bunch to get certain rewards, then maybe it'll leave a good taste in your mouth. It's like, what is that logic?
What they're going to do is, I don't know if I'm too ahead. Yeah, I'm too ahead. I want to get to the ritual weapon thing. But I know what they're going to try to do to appease us, which we'll get into, right? Mm-hmm. But for now, for the casual guy, I get this a lot. They'd be like, yo, what do I need to do? How do I level up faster? This is going to appeal to them. And newsflash, this is a casual game majority of the time with the engagement and the numbers. And I know, Travis, I know it burns your soul. I understand. I feel you. You know what I'm saying? They still have to do something for us, because we look at that and we go, oh, no. I see what you're doing. You try to lock me in this prison of something I don't want to do all the time.
I just want to meet someone who enters the strike playlist and just plays it for fun. Like for 3 hours.
Bro, that's Addict. I'm telling you.
I know
people do that.
I know mad people that do this. I know people who live in Gambit. They just having fun, and then they get their little rewards.
Gambit I get, though, because there's a win-lose. Like, Strike only has one outcome, which is you win. And once you've played it, especially if you've played it 2 or 3 times, you've experienced everything that Strike's going to offer. So what do you get on the 10th, 11th, 12th time? What are you getting out of it?
I think it just comes down to Destiny just feels good for people to play. Like, they just enjoy shooting aliens in the face, like that.
Shooting in the face,
and a lot of
little bit of narrative
really are casual. Honestly, as someone who does a lot of guides for endgame content, I have to remind myself of that a lot. Of like, I can't just recommend the same meta weapon or subclasses or whatever every single time, even though like Anarchy, Breach, and Clear. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But like, yeah, you have to take a step back and like think about. There's just the majority, like Lord Cognito said, it's just like a lot of people are super incredibly casual, even more than like we may even realize. Like, they literally log on the game, as you said, play the mission, which like I don't even keep up with that stuff. And then they do a couple strikes, and then they log off, and that's what they do. They just
That I
like
get
to
though. That I get, like
chill
the
and
short term.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like the people who like they log on
There's
loyally and
literally
just
one
like
in chat,
play
like Ducky.
strikes.
He says he's
Yeah, I
a
just say
one.
Ducky Poo. Yep.
He's like, it's just like I'll run strikes for 4 hours. He said it's just some great vibes. Like,
Is it just to hang out with people
It's
and,
just
and
to
think
hang
it's
with
just
the
yeah,
homie.
Okay.
like
Shoot
I get that.
aliens. You got a little like remember a lot of people like a little bit of a narrative component, right? So each one is this little self-contained stories. Now, granted, yeah, they're gonna repeat, and after a while, you're gonna run out. But for some people, they love that, bro. I'm telling you, Travis, it's more than you think.
it's fun to
Robert's
apparently just
right.
shoot stuff with your friends. That's what
Shoot
Destiny
with your friends.
is.
That's what they want to do. They just want to, hey, let's play this together, man. Let's just rock out, casual, chill, and that's what they're perfectly fine doing that.
Yeah, I guess my
crazy.
brain's just wired differently. It's like I get it on the competitive
you.
side because
I'm
it's
with you.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
it's like
me.
it's. But yeah, it's like that. I'm the same way because like I've been doing legend and master guides, and it's like I'll do a master lost sector guide, but I'm like I do the same thing. I was like I try, and then some people are like, well, I don't have, and I'm like, okay, so I switched, and I was like, no exotics. I don't even use my super basic non-masterwork stuff. Can I beat this? And I'm like, all right. If I can do it this way, you guys have better stuff than I do. Please use your good tools, but this is how you can do it without them. Like that's, and those are some of the ones that are like, thank you. This is for the average old 50-year-old person who doesn't understand all this like old young person talk. And I'm like, well, okay, somehow I feel old and young at the same time because I'm helping you, but also, so it's weird. But like those are the comments that you see, and you're like, yeah, there's a pretty good chunk of the people out there that are looking that stuff up.
Yep.
So it's like every so often you're reminded
100%.
that 80-20, we're in the 20 or smaller. Anybody
100%.
here who's fairly dedicated is
Lower.
definitely in the pretty low level. But as we talk about a little more, they said next season they're moving the seasonal ritual weapon and ornaments to the reputation reward tracks for Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit. So as you work your way through reputation, instead of getting your seasonal weapon, you have to put time into the playlist now, as opposed to the go check off the activities.
I like that a lot, actually. I think that's a very good change because right now it's like you just go grind, a Shuro-Chi checkpoint and get the weapon in 20 minutes. So it's, now it's you actually have to do the activity and engage in it and earn the cosmetics, which is good. That's how it should be. That encourages natural playlist participation, not the forced stuff like I was talking about. Where you're locked in a playlist. You actually have a reason to go do it. That's good. That's how it should be. I would love to see them bring pinnacle weapons back.
Me too.
Yep.
That's a whole. I mean, I know we could go on for 6 hours talking about that, but like genuinely, I'm not. I swear, I'm not going down a rabbit hole. That I'm just saying.
No,
that's what you say right before a 2 hour
Bring
conversation.
sunsetting back right now.
Alice is looking down
do
it right now.
way.
Whoa,
Spicy.
Wow.
That's all I'm saying.
Spicy. Let's get it now. But why? I'm curious. I want to hear this. I want to hear. Break it down.
Yeah.
Break it down. Why Sunset needs to come back? I want to hear it.
They did it in D1, and they did it the right way in D1 because they gave you a lot of weapons to chase. I think if they had done sunsetting, now, where we have Season of the Splicer and Season of the Chosen loot, where the I guess like the weapons you have at your disposal now is so much more flooded than it was at the launch of Beyond Light, where you literally had like 30 new guns to use total, and everything else was sunset. So there were like actual archetypes that were completely just not in the game. Like they didn't have a replacement for the weapon. So you're like, well, what the hell do I use now? Whereas like now there's so like you have ignition code, you have truth teller, you have so many other things. And then on top of the issues they had with sunsetting in terms of like replacement loot, they recycled old loot and brought that back as a solve. And that was like the biggest slap in the face. So I think if they did it right, it's very healthy for the game because power creep is a real thing. The reason we don't use most of the exotics that we have is because Anarchy and Izanagi exist. And there's literally no reason, because they fill so many roles, to ever use any other gun ever.
His soul is jumping.
Yeah.
I continue.
Dude, I love this stuff. I could literally talk about it all day.
No,
but
this
like,
is us. This is literally the last. You've entered the last word now. All right, so here's the deal. here's the deal. Now I got
this is the question he's got to ask. I know where you're going.
You know where I'm going. You know where I'm going. I got to ask. Because you made some very powerful statements, sir. I mean, you're very passionate about it. You know, I do think that you have some valid points in reference to power creep, still being an issue, and even though they sunsetting whatever they did, right? But
that's
now
what's going to cause power creep. Yeah.
Right. Now the question becomes the exotics, right? That's been a little bit of point of contention here. So my question to you is, are you cool, right, with them saying, okay, you know what? After next season, Anarchy's done, power level is at its max or whatever it is. You can't go any further with it, and slowly remove those from the pool and either introduce new stuff or not. Like where are you at with exotics specifically?
I think they should be sunset as well. And I'll tell you why.
Let's go.
If you continue, like literally every future raid will suffer from the same issue, the same exact incentive problems we've been discussing all day long.
Yep.
You ever want another exotic to be powerful, you're going to have to make it better than Izanagi's and Anarchy and Witherhoard and Divinity and all these other incredible exotics that we have in the game right now. You're going to have to make it so good that it supersedes those. And so if you do that pretty soon, and which they're not going to make something better than current state Anarchy. They're just not. Like, look at Vex Mythoclast. No one cares about the exotic because it's not like good. There's no reason to run it. There's no reason to run an exotic primary. There's no, I mean, you could go down the list of like incentive issues, right? It's because those guns exist. If they didn't exist and they were sunset, and then you could take them into the strike playlist that they want to keep you in, and you can use them and have a blast. Maybe incentivize you even more to go grind the casual playlist because you can use all your old favorite weapons that don't have a power level restriction. Then maybe you have something. But until they do that, like the Witch Queen raid could come out with a pretty good exotic, but is it going to top Anarchy? And if it doesn't, is anybody going to care about it? I don't think so. And that's because sunsetting isn't a thing. And it's literally healthy for the game. I think if they expanded the window from a year, which one of the major issues was, okay, Deepstone Crypt just dropped. If I get this weapon drop now and I farm all these spoils over and over again, I'm going to be able to use it in Witch Queen. That was not the case when DSC dropped because it launched in November. They sunset a year after. And so technically, if you were farming it at the beginning, those weapons wouldn't have been usable for the Witch Queen raid. So I think if you expand it to like 18 months, gives it a nice life cycle. You carry on to the next major expansion. You use those on the day one raid race. And then that next season, those retire and you have a reason to farm the newest raid for the best endgame loot. And it would continue a healthy cycle of like, okay, my old stuff is going. I can use it in this raid. So I have a reason to grind it. But then once that's over, I have to go grind new stuff. I think that's really healthy. That's the definition of a looter shooter. You want to chase loot. But I think that's a huge problem for most people right now because people are literally just farming Templar to go buy Anarchy, and then that's all they use because it's so good. Or Izzy, or any of the other overpowered exotics, because there's just not a reason to use anything else.
I have a lot to say.
I was like, Travis or Cog, who's going first?
I'll let Trav. Yeah. Trav, you can go if you want. You go.
No, you go.
No. I mean, look, I'm never gonna disrespect what Above is saying in reference to power creep. That's a real thing. And I did say once, he knows, I was actually surprised they reverse course on sunsetting, right? Because the points they made, they were valid points there. Power creep, and to me, I always looked at it as we got to figure out, as for me being Bungie, like we got to figure out a way for them to stop using Mountaintop and Recluse. We made these things a little bit too powerful.
Mountaintop, Recluse, and Revoker, I think if those would have just been sunset, they would have solved half of their worries.
Right. And they had to figure out a way, right? The legendary part, I'm there. I have acquiesced on that part. He knows, right? I'm okay with the legendary part because I get it. It's just so many weapons and it's so many of the same archetype, but then it just comes down to at some point you're just going to establish the meta stuff, and I get that. You get a fresh new coat of paint and new weapons come in. Okay, cool. I'm okay with that. And I'm actually cool what you said with the length of time, right?
Mhm.
That being extended a bit. I'm cool with that. The reason why I struggle with exotics is twofold part. One, you know what I'm saying? Like, again, as far as the introduction of them into the game, it's not in the same cadence of legendaries. That's one.
Yep.
Two, the thing is, I still feel like, even though this is a looter shooter game and the goal is to get loot, I feel it's personally disrespectful to the player to say, hey, I'm going to make you go through presage and do all this stuff, right? And you're going to get this dead man's tail. I'm going to make you go through the raid and you're going to bleed, sweat, and tear like my man Travis to try.
And 18 months isn't long enough to enjoy
it. Let me finish. To try for the hope of getting an Eyes of Tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
For the hope, right? Some of these exotics are RNG, like the raid ones, stuff like that. And to me, it does feel disrespectful to that person's engagement for the exotic part. And my only counter to it would be just say, okay, if you're going to do that, and if you're going to say, we're going to sunset and cool, then my request, and he knows it, is like, can you give me a new engine? can you give me the D3?
You want enough freshness so you don't think about the other stuff.
Fresh. You freshen up this dedicated server. you freshen. You put maybe a 3 on it. You come up with some narrative beat like you did in D2 and say the tower blew up and they robbed us or whatever they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all I want. I just want structurally the game to also improve because, again, I know people who either never got Anarchy or they missed out, and then there's no chance for them to ever again. So I think we're pretty much the same. I know he's about to go.
No, I was like, can I ask you one question on, say, the specific raid exotics? Because you've mentioned Anarchy.
Yeah.
Mentioned Eyes of Tomorrow.
Yes.
If there was a specific way to go after those, instead of, hey, it's an RNG drop at the end of the raid.
Right.
Hey, this is a quest that you build the weapon. You acquire pieces or keys or eyes from, or all these little parts from the raid, to have a direct path that eventually, like, hey, I got to run the raid 3 times. Maybe I have to do a couple things while we do it. Some specific tasks to acquire that weapon. So if you know you have a direct path to it, then you have a much shorter window.
Not be honest about
Travis.
that?
I was going to say not Travis's RNG of 50 weeks or something stupid. Like,
right. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I know where you're going. I'm gonna be brutally honest. I don't think I've ever said this so last. I think about it. I don't like quest exotics.
I agree.
What?
I agree.
I don't like them. I hate it. I hate all I have to do is this story mission, and I'm guaranteed. To me, it devalues it. I also don't like at the start of the season, here comes the battle pass, log in. Here's your
I hate that too, trust me.
I hate both of those things. I like D1. The exotics being rare. Exotics really, I don't like being showered in it. So to me, it's just a direct path. I don't like the direct path. I'm going to be honest. I never liked it. I just never really said it.
Okay, it was like
all be direct paths.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like if exotics are something you have to go through and earn through a difficult activity, you don't like presage?
I like the mission. To me, I always been a fan of the RNG with exotics.
Okay,
I've been a fan.
Have you just been lucky? Have you just been like lucky on all exotics and never been to a point where like, hey, I'm 9 months into Destiny 1 and I finally got my first Galahorn? Like, was that never you where you're like, I am beyond frustrated that like nothing I can do?
I didn't mind it. To me, that's part of the allure of Destiny, the jealousy. You're like, damn, he got that joint. You know what I'm saying?
Well, because I always have bad luck. So I'm on the bad side of this equation always. But I also just have a philosophical disagreement. But go on.
No, I get it. To me, it's that guardian FOMO when you look at your man, you like listen, to me, I think there's a fun. I know this is going to sound really crazy what I'm about to say. It's Travis, I'm so sorry. I think there's a fun when we do the raid, right? And everybody's looking at that Atheon chest. And only one person got a gold icon on their screen, and the rest of them, and it says, Ebontis has eyes of tomorrow. Like, to me, it's funny. Like, I think there's a fun
until you're at the end of it 50 times, I guess, is the issue with that.
Exactly. Now, granted, I'll finish my point. I'll give it right back to you above.
No,
but granted, well, I love what they did is say, okay, we got to put some protection. So each time you run it, the percentage increases.
Okay,
and
so
that metric
so
is
then
there.
how
That's
is
just a
that
different
different than a
guaranteed
quest?
path.
Yes, how
It
is that
is,
But it's
different?
such a small percentage.
Okay,
It's
how many times? Okay, are you okay? Do you want to run it at 50?
It's a small percentage.
I think 20 would be fair because, like, I don't know. You still there.
So you're
has
collecting
to
20 of
be-
Atheon's heads. That's your quest. Like, that's the same thing then.
It's just a quest. Yeah.
If you
Well-
want a time limit on it, you're saying, hey, you've got to go through and acquire 20 X times. All you're doing is 20 completions and checking a box, as opposed to what if it, I would rather have it to where if I go through and do the raid, it's like, hey, you've got to kill Atheon while using a void subclass or using an arc subclass. Like, or some dumbass weird list of stuff where you've got to go through and do it with different weapons, or however Destiny can find a way to make a quest, but something that's not just like, if you hit the box of 20, you get your thing. That's just...
Yeah, but what's the difference of I just do it and you get it? Like, to me,
I agree. They shouldn't be handouts, Cog.
That's
I think
what
that's
I feel they are. I feel
like
all the quests are.
And I'm
some of them are like Hawkmoon and stuff,
Mhm.
are just handout. But
that's the one, right? Like where I don't know. It's the quests that are so easy that they're not memorable. Like for me, Lament was actually pretty cool because it had like its own
Cool story.
unique storyline to it.
Whisper
Like,
the Worm.
I'm all for that. Oh, of
Yes.
course. Like any of
That's
those,
beautiful. Yeah.
absolutely. Like please continue to do that. But when it's, they're handed out in the season's pass, or
So
Yes.
I
go
100%
do
agree.
10 public events and then you get, like that stuff is just so...
And I
Yeah.
think
monotonous
that...
and
I agree. Everybody with $20 shouldn't get the new seasonal exotic at the beginning, and then it just is irrelevant because everybody has it. I agree with that. I think the problem behind RNG is that you just have these guys with dumb luck, these schmucks walking around with exotics when somebody like me has done it 50 times and still not gotten it. And I don't think that is... It's not a super great ecosystem, especially if one of those weapons is the meta. And it's also just not a good feeling from a game design perspective. So I think they should do both. If I were creating the loot system in Destiny, there would be a 2 or 3% chance of you getting an exotic through a natural means like beating a raid. And if you go through the whole raid, at the end, you get your drop chance. But there would also be a really difficult optional challenge you could do to get it to drop, to force it to drop, because there are some people who maybe consider themselves high skill and maybe value their time and have other stuff they could be doing and don't want to have to do 50 raids to the point where they hate the raid. We were talking about this before the show, but like I hate Deepstone Crypt now because I was forced to do it week after week for almost a full year, and just to get to Eyes of Tomorrow, a gun I have never fired, right? Because I needed it on my checklist. And now I'm upset with that raid. I just think that there should be a super high threshold for the people who want to like do that optional and force it, and then also a low chance for the people who just get lucky. That's fine. They can have both.
Travis, what if this is a crazy idea, but what if it automatically dropped when you beat all of the master challenges in
what?
Right?
What?
Or what if it automatically dropped when you got a day 1 challenge mode clear like I did on Deepstone Crypt? I beat it on... Dude, I beat it on day 1 on the challenge mode, and then they told me, oh yeah, but somebody else who beat it the next day got Eyes of Tomorrow, and I had to do it 52 more times. I'm pissed about that, dude. It sucks.
Bro, I'm always going to be on your side, Travis, when it comes to...
You just said it was funny to watch him.
I think it's hilarious. I think it's hilarious. I think it's the in-game meta for me personally when the raids come out.
And
that's
you're just
me.
a sadist. That's
I'm sadistic. I think it's funny. But at the end of the day, I do agree that if he's doing a harder version of it, then those chances should significantly increase to almost guarantee him that. I agree with that. Because again, we always talk about reward incentive, like you said, like for you to be in there needs to be substantial rewards, kind of thing. But that's just where I'm at with it. But continue, because I'm dying to hear you.
I think there's a middle ground between giving it to everyone and locking it behind just rock solid RNG. That means that people like me could just do it forever and never get it. There's got to be a space in between of a way to do it.
20 normal clears of VOG or 5 master, and you're guaranteed it. And it can drop anytime between that point, but at least it's RNG protection. You're not literally just like, well, hopefully I'm not running this for the next 6 months and, you know, doing 3 clears a week that are time gated and I can't do anything
I
about
was
it.
like, but 20
Maximum,
basically is 6 months.
I mean,
Not
yeah,
across
that is true.
characters if it's account based, but yeah.
Okay, well, not everybody has all 3 characters, so again, it could be
Yeah,
6 months for
That's
one
True,
person.
but then that's getting into
I think
like
20 is too much because by 20 you hate the raid.
Yeah.
If you hate the raid, you've done it too many times.
Yeah, that's fair.
But that's
5
that
would be if you have 3 characters, you're guaranteed a week 2, which for
For sure.
VOG would be really good. I mean, maybe like 10's the sweet spot. I don't know. There is something to be said about though, like really rare exotics, especially like, dude, I remember
say it with your
1K
chest.
dropping from Last Wish. It was like it was such a big deal because at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, it was the frame rate issue. So
Oh,
on
yeah,
PC,
yeah,
Oh,
it was
yes, that
doing
thing was so
much
broken.
damage. It was
Yep.
it was busted. So everybody wanted it. And like you need that aspirational loot in Destiny. I know that RNG is not the best way to do it, but at the end of the day, that's like what keeps the hardcore players coming back to games like WoW and Final Fantasy.
Out here
But
giving these
maybe I don't know, maybe you
things.
tie it to cosmetics. I don't know how you do it in a healthy way. It's hard. Like I don't think
Yeah.
anybody has a perfect answer for it.
I think so to get back to what you guys were talking, because I definitely wanted to talk about the sunsetting thing.
Yes.
So I actually agree with Above for the most part. I was a guy who, when they announced sunsetting, I said on Fireteam chat, like, yeah, this is good. Like this should be a thing. And then Destin, said no famously, and now he feels vindicated that they took it out. But the thing is, the reason sunsetting didn't work is because they didn't live up to the promise that
Yes.
they made.
No, you're
behind
right. You're
sunsetting, which was
absolutely right.
they were going to try new things, and they were going to have weapons that were broken, but then they only stayed there for a little bit of time, and all of that stuff. And what they ended up doing was selling you the same weapons that they had just sunset. You just re-earn them in a new season, and not really doing a lot of experimentation, and kind of still being gun shy about having broken weapons. And I think that's the reason that system didn't work. It had nothing to do with the philosophy behind it. That said, I think that sunsetting has always existed, and it still exists in Destiny. It just got rebranded. Now it's called nerfs. Now it's called patches. Now it's called updates. But it's still the same thing. If they nerf an exotic into the ground so that it's no longer part of the meta, that is a sunset. If they are reducing people's archetype damage for
like machine guns have been sunset in PvE for a while, for example.
Hand cannons just got a downgrade for some of those. So like they're able to control the meta by doing sunsetting. They just got rid of the term sunsetting, and now everybody's okay with it. But sunsetting has always existed, and it exists on exotics. They sunset exotics all the time. I just think that
I mean, no, finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I just think that like the you guys were saying, oh, if they just took those seasonal weapons out, the recluse, then it would have solved all the problems. And I think that is probably mostly true, but it also just the whole idea behind taking away stuff that you've already earned. Oh, you're taking away my accomplishments. I just don't buy it, man. They're taking away your accomplishments no matter what, because there's the whole creep of the power system. Your power's always going up. There's the whole, they're giving you a slightly better version, and even if it's power creep, they're still essentially invalidating your stuff. Even stuff like Grandmaster, dude. The Grandmaster strikes, the Grandmaster Nightfalls is sort of an invalidation of your entire power journey, because they just make the bosses, all the enemies, 20 power higher than you. It's like this whole game of like, oh, we're respecting your decisions, but ultimately we can't really make them matter, because if they mattered, you would just be able to blow through all of the content, and none of this would matter to you. Like nothing would be a challenge. So I just think they should do, because they already do seasonal artifacts and seasonal mods. There should be seasonal weapons too. Ones that are specifically marked as this is going to go away at the end of the season. Not all of the weapons, but some of them, the ones that they know are overpowered.
You've been reckless now.
Continue. They can drop those in. Why not? Just make seasonal weapons if they're really worried about it. And then
weapons,
and then you know when you get them, that it's only going to be temporary, because that seems to be everybody's problem of like, I earned this, it's mine, and they're just so entitled. And it's just like, okay, well then. Why is it okay if they take away mods from you with the artifact? They take away your mods. You earned those. You grinded for those. Why do they take away your power? You grinded for your power every season, and they take it away by just moving the goalpost a little farther. So they're taking away stuff from you all the time. So let's just be transparent about what we get to keep, and what is permanent and what is going away. And if you're going to nerf stuff into the ground where it's essentially sunset, then why are we worrying about the verbiage of whether they call it a sunset or not? That's my
I mean, it's like with anything in marketing, right? It's how you market it, I guess, to your player base, right? Like what feels better? Anarchy gets sunset because it's too good. Like it's such a good weapon. You had it for a year and a half. It absolutely destroyed raid bosses, and then it gets sunset into the vault, and they're able to come up with newer stuff that's just as powerful because they can replace. Hopefully, that would be the goal. You know, they come up with something cool that takes the place of that in the meta versus like, yeah, that gun you know and love, you can't use it in strikes anymore in its current form. We're just gonna gut it, and now like, you know, that gun that you once knew, it doesn't actually exist anymore. It's completely changed. If you like, I mean, you remember OG Recluse when it did 2.5 times body damage as well? Like it was insane. When they changed it, and then they nerfed Feeding Frenzy as well. The gun, it was still good, but it wasn't
dominant.
It wasn't the Recluse you knew where you were just like, dude, I would use this over my machine gun. Like this thing's insane. Brad Clear. So I don't know. A part of it for me is just like how you message it to your community. Like I would love that 1.5 year window. You let a gun shine. You know, I mean, there's always going to be nerfs where they're like, holy crap, we did not mean for it to be this strong.
I changed the decimal by 1/10 and I busted it.
Yeah. But you know, let things be powerful for a while, and then they have their time in the limelight, and then you know they get reverted to just the base content. You can go use it in strikes and quick play or whatever. Like I can still go use my spare and mind benders and quick play. And and Egan was saying it in chat, but like I hold on to those weapons as trophies in my vault, even though they've been sunset. I'll never delete my spare that has 5,000 kills on it. Never delete my Recluse that has 120,000 kills on it. Like I those are like trophies from things that I accomplished, and I can look back and be like, man, that was fun. And sometimes I can go and take them for a spin if I want to, but I don't know if I'm necessarily the biggest fan of nerfs.
I agree. I'm just saying, like, they are sunsetting things. That's my point, is that the name has just changed. And I tend to agree, like, if you're going to sunset something, just call it sunsetting and be transparent about why. But doing these nerfs are kind of like, to me, like ghost sunsetting efforts. They're just saying like, oh, we're not sunsetting, but then they're using nerfs to do the exact same thing that was the purpose of sunsetting. And I don't think there's another option. Power creep cannot exist. We can't get to the point where Destiny's just broken like it was the season of the Drifter. That just can't be the way that the game works. So you have to take things away to keep the game going and make it balanced. And if you have to do that, then we need sunsetting. We just need it. And if that comes in the form of nerfs or you call it sunsetting, it has to exist. So why don't they just call it sunsetting and stick to their guns like they said they were going to do, instead of cowing to...
There was a reason that they didn't stick to their guns. There was a reason. The community. The community said, no, we're not playing.
They don't always listen to the community. That's the problem.
I'm just saying.
But would the community's reaction have been different if they actually did what they said they were going to do?
That's a valid point. That's a valid point. They didn't do it correct. I'm going to give you that, Travis. I
would argue that the reason it didn't work out is because I think that they looked at the equation of like, well, can we fix sunsetting? And then they saw how much content they would need to create.
Right.
They have to up the amount of guns they're making and content they're making every season. They were just like, dude, this isn't feasible. What's the easier option?
They have consistently proven that they cannot do it.
Exactly.
That's my point.
Can I make a counter argument? Can I make a counter argument to that?
Yes, sure. Please.
Since they hired weapon specific team members, which they did, I think it was like 2-3 seasons ago. I think it was like pre-season of The Chosen. It's definitely gotten better. Like we get adepts, which I was not expecting there to be new adept weapons this season after last season. I was like halfway convinced that it was just going to be, you know, we're getting Pally again and it's just going to be the same thing. But they brought 3 new weapons. They're adding strike specific weapons, Gambit, Crucible. Like they're doing better. There's a lot of seasonal weapons to chase now, especially from the last 2 seasons. If you take the season of Chosen and Splicer loot pool, it's actually pretty big. It was like, what is it, like 60, 70 weapons at this point?
Can we be honest about these Shadowkeep and Dreaming City weapons? Can we be honest? The rehash and all they did was just made 1,000 perks in each column of this. Like, I hate going again. I'm team developer. I love developers. I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to make a game.
Yep.
But to me, when I saw those reissues of those weapons, I was extremely disappointed. I was just like,
I think they have to do it from a legal standpoint, to be honest with you, because they're still selling Forsaken and Shadowkeep at full price.
Shadowkeep as a thing, right?
All stuff that was sunsetted gear or doesn't have a source of weapons anymore. That's probably a legal problem, to be honest with you.
At the end of the day,
no, because it'll be in their DRM.
The DRM, yeah. At the end of the day, it just to me, I still feel they're behind the ball as far as whether it be the resource thing or whatever it is, making another game or what have you would matter or whatever. They just haven't proven this base. We just gobble up this content in such a fashion they cannot seem to keep up. That's just always been Destiny's Achilles heel, and that's my whole thing. So to Travis's point, if in theory they would have had those weapons ready to go, and those replacements, but we went through almost 2 seasons where they took all this stuff away, and we're like, well, beyond light, we're like, what are we really chasing, right? After we got the Europa stuff, it was really a light pool, and it took them a while to refill that. That's all I'm trying to say.
That was ground zero. Yeah, I mean, when it's literally, ground zero is tough because they're literally starting from a blank slate. But if they had, done that on a huge release like what we're expecting Witch Queen to be, where they bring, maybe they bring in 80 weapons. Is anybody going to care about some of their old favorites being sunset? No, because you have things to actually go out and chase. All I'm saying is, like, I know that you were mentioning the power creep thing. At a base level, that is what the primary solve of sunsetting does.
Yeah.
But more than anything, it solves loot incentive issues, because if I continue to get primary, like, I have heritage, I have no reason to ever go farm another precision shotgun again, because I have that, and it's insane. Like, I'll never have a reason to go do that. Do I ever have a reason to go farm another 140 that's not the Adept Fatebringer? It has the 2 best perks in the game. I have no reason to.
I have a regular Fatebringer like that, and I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm with you on legendaries.
That's all I'm saying.
No, but here's the problem: is
it comes to a head.
I was gonna say, here's the problem with exotics. He's mentioned things like Anarchy, Izzy's. If something like Gallowhorn was in Destiny 2 from early on, rockets have had their ups and downs of power and things like that. But it's still just the issue of, Travis mentions like the nerfing going up and down. Like, hey, rockets were trash for 2 years or however long they were in the dumpster. And you're like, hey, rockets got a 30% buff. That's their way of like cycling the meta, as opposed to them saying, hey, here's some rocket launchers that have been good or bad. Hey, we sunset at Gallowhorn. It had its heyday. Hey, now we're going to bring out a new one instead of having to do those other things. It's like, for me, we have so many exotic weapons now, and they're looking at doing catalysts to make them stronger. They may as well, at that point, make a new exotic.
Yeah.
And give you some freshness to go after, as opposed to, hey, that thing that's been in your vault for like, I don't know, about 2 years, go pull out a copy, infuse it, because that's still a thing you have to do, because it was an 1100 weapon. Then go grind out 500 things of this weapon you haven't used in a while. Feels about the same. Hey, you get the catalyst, it feels different. As opposed to what you would like, Cognito. What if now in the world, instead of going to get us, catalyst for Sunshot, that, that one already exists, but say that one unlocks and be like, hey, it's got new range and now it explodes 4 times as much. Be like, what if Sunshot had been sunset with, start of Destiny 2, and now there's like this solar thing that looks absolutely ridiculous, and they gave it a twist of a new perk, as opposed to having these exotics hang around. But that way you cannot have to always power creep up. You sunset the exotic, you get your 18 months or whatever with it. And then when you do see a new solar hand cannon, you're like, hey, we haven't had a solar hand cannon in a little while. We have legendaries that fill those holes. And that's the key, which you guys are talking about. Sunsetting Sunset too much. They were worried about Recluse. They were worried about Mountaintop. They were worried about Revoker. Those 3 were huge, huge problems in their own rights each. if those would have gone away, but they wouldn't have like taken out, as you said, archetypes, or I need a Void Scout rifle. There's like one. Even now, if you go look for a Void Scout rifle, there are very few. If they would have left like options in those level legendary archetypes and then continued to cycle, they killed too much of the legendary world. But then now the issue with exotics never going away and never being sunset is that issue of power creep, as he's saying. And we're going to go through the nerf thing. At some point, Anarchy is going to get shot in the face and left to bleed out. And we're going to go have to find something else, which they'll give us. But if Anarchy had its time to shine and then it was bye-bye, then you're like, Anarchy was cool, got to live another day, and then cool, later on we'll see a different grenade launcher doing different things that they can still make powerful because of that. So it's like, it's a combination of literally everything you guys said. They sunset way too much stuff. Exotics, having too long of a lifespan, have the issue of power creep, especially now as we have the mods making them godly. And then the combination of like with exotics themselves and legendaries, if they live too long, then how do you continue to like have that loot incentive? So it's literally everything you guys are saying. It's just they have unfortunately taking 3 steps down the wrong path instead of what we all would have hoped for. Like Travis was hoping for, hey, if you're going to drop 50 weapons and then the next, a couple weeks later, hey, we got these other things coming in. We left you guys a lot of options, but we killed some of them. We're going to get on this cycle. There's enough in here. They bit off a lot more than they could chew. But unfortunately, now that they've stepped back, they've really shot themselves in the foot in the world of power creep and making other things desirable because of what is still existing. Sorry,
I honestly think it's just a matter of they implemented sunsetting before their team was ready to deliver.
I agree.
The sandbox that they needed.
100%.
I think if they did the sunsetting like at Witch Queen release, their team would have been ready for it. They would have had the staff in place. They would have had their kind of like pattern of releasing new guns in place. I just think it was too early and they gave up on it too soon.
Agreed. And now that they tracked, it's a problem that probably won't get addressed. Like, to be honest, like I don't see them reverting to go back to sunsetting. So,
yeah, they're just gonna nerf it, and they're gonna say that it's not sunsetting. They're gonna say Anarchy got a damage decrease, which is essentially going to be a sunset, but they just won't call it that.
Yep.
Yeah. My final point is I hear what you're saying. My final point is just this: that at the end of the day, I feel the percentage with exotics in comparison to the whole entire loot pool is still not comparable. I still think it's a smaller percentage in comparison to legendaries. The second thing is if we introduce the new exotics and we sunset the old, right? Inherently, there's always going to be those exotics that are going to stand head and shoulder over other exotics. And we're still going to have the same thing where we're still going to nerf the new Sunshot version 2 or Anarchy version 3 in a different form with a different skin. So my thing is, if you're going to do all that, right, and invalidate the player investment, then you better give me something to make me feel good about it. You know what I'm saying? And what I want to feel good about is anti-cheat and PvP maps. And you better do something with this game on a core level that you can justify taking away player investment. And I always say new engine and new things, and then it will ease the blow for me.
I was like, this is where you and I will differ, and co-hosts are going to do that from time to time.
Of course,
you always say, yeah, we do. It's fun. You always say it's like not respecting player investment.
Oh, it's definitely not.
No, I'm saying like spend it. I get that, but I was like, no game, honestly, is like Destiny lives as long as it has.
Right.
So you're like, how, like like we did this before, and it was always the idea of like, how long is long enough to respect? Like you've had that gun for 2 years. You're not done with you do, and that's the issue.
But it's not about done. It's about, all right, because Destiny is unique. We're gonna go off on that tangent. I knew this was happening, but because Destiny is unique, Destiny is one of the most original games in the sense of just look at the Gallahorn, for example, right? Look at how beautifully it is designed from an artistic standpoint, and then the way the gun sounds.
Get that.
Destiny is unlike any other game. You have a unique emotional connection to that gun. I don't know many games that they're designed so well, right? That you personalize that. even with legendaries to an extent, because sometimes they give you the kill
But if
counter
they
and all
don't
that.
make you ever put that away and you get that type of attachment to a gun, if they don't force you to put it away, you're never going to want anything else that they make.
Here's
And that's, I think, the issue
It's
is
the eternal struggle, right?
right.
Like,
And
that
that's
will always exist in an MMO. But I mean, but that's on the but that goes back to, it's not sunsetting that is the issue. It is the core. It's the core design philosophies of the game that need to reward your time better, number one, so that you don't feel like you're being cheated and disrespected on your time investment. And two, they need to come out with new stuff. Like, I would rather them spend new time, like time developing new powerful guns that make us want to play the game, which is the most important part of this whole discussion that we're talking about, is like, what's going to get me to grind this game more? Is it keeping a weapon at the top of the meta that should be sunset, but we're afraid to do it because we're afraid of, people being offended that their time investment's been, compromised? Or
absolutely, I hear we
do
going.
we reward them and bring them stuff that they really want to go chase and continue to do forward, like moving forward?
And all I'm telling you guys is, right, I'm on Defining Duke right now, right? So shout out to Matty. I'm gonna put his business out. He put out a question on Defining Duke recently and was like, yo, they're asking for someone new getting into Destiny, right? And he's like, Cog, I played in D1. I haven't played D2. Tell me what is going on, right? Because he's like, yo, I heard that they got rid of weapons. And the minute I heard that, I'm out. That's what casual people say. There's an emotional connection. We can't deny it. You know what I'm saying? This is that 80-20% thing again. The 20% for the sake of the game and hardcore, I feel y'all. You know what I'm saying? For the power creep, for the reefer, I feel y'all. But that 80% that played this game and they're new to the game and they got their beloved thing, and then you say your beloved thing you can't play with, you can't touch, you look at it, it's useless. It don't feel good.
See, that's the problem.
Hold on. That represents more of the majority of gamers than y'all think. And that's the struggle that Bungie's going to have to deal with.
I agree, Cog. But
they need to get
you said that this you said this listener played D1.
Right.
They sunset every weapon in the sandbox every year in D1.
Right, and they left.
So he should be at home with that then. Why is he saying that he's not going to play D2 because he heard they're getting rid of weapons?
Because he said they're doing.
Is that why he stopped playing D1?
That's what he told me. Matty was like, yo, I heard that sunset stuff. I'm not playing. I'm not doing that. He said, you're not going to take stuff away from me.
I think you can respect somebody's investment and their time if you let them keep the weapon for a little bit and then say, hey, this is essentially a new game, a new platform. Like when D1 transitioned to D2, everybody understood why you couldn't bring your stuff across, right? Because it was a new weapon. But because Destiny's changing its model, it kind of needs to think as every major expansion as its own game. And I think players need to start thinking of it like that because that's what it is, right?
Difference.
Like, yeah, Destiny 2 Vanilla is a very different game from Forsaken.
I feel what you say logically, but it's not going to fly to the casual play. I'm just telling you.
I mean, that's
get over it. Then I guess
I'm kind of the point where it's like tough shit.
Yeah, but
I don't even mean this in a mean way. Like genuinely, are the players who are going to get upset that they only have 18 months with a gun? That's a year and a half. They realistically probably don't even check in that often. Are those really the players you should be building your game for? Or is it going to be healthier if you cascade it down from a higher level where there's incentive for every level of player all the way down to that? Then you're going to bring more people in the door that way. If you have incentive at every single level and you have new stuff to chase that gets people excited. It's just, I don't know. I don't.
Destiny became.
It just seems so nearsighted a little bit.
The sandbox became a huge problem when they decided not to put a 3 or a universe or anything else and give what Cognito wants, that easy, clean slate. That's the easiest way they did it in D1 to D2. They're like, blew up the tower. You got nothing. We have to start over. Even though you may have a character, we got to get a whole bunch of new stuff. They paint themselves into a corner. Shout out to New Red, who said that multiple times. They have painted themselves into a corner now to where they're worried about power creep. And they're not willing to sunset. And that is a problem that is going to be an issue on both sides of that. Because if you want to make new stuff, you got to have a reason to want to go get it. Okay. if you have stuff that's absolutely at the pinnacle of what you're allowed to survive anyway, mods are going to make some things a little less, but still anarchy is just insanely busted. How are you going to make something good enough that people want to incentivize it, but doesn't involve power creep and none of it ever goes away? That's this cyclical issue. And whether it's a legendary, an exotic, half of the exotic armor may as well be sunset because you may as well throw it in the garbage anyway and try again. But I was like, same thing with weapons. They're the same way. They're going to try it with a catalyst. Like, you have people building weapons now instead of saying, hey, the freaking void pulse rifle that I can never remember the name of that has cosmology on it. Thank you. I don't know why. That is like never gonna, that one kills me. But it's like, say Graviton Lance. Hey, it's got a catalyst now that it does something crazy cool. It's like, wouldn't I be more incentivized or more excited to be like, hey, let me go pull this thing out of my vault that I have had for 4 years?
A hardcore player. You guys are the hardcore.
No, but like,
and I get it. It's a hardcore mentality.
Hold on, but here's the issue. Like, what if this person, hey, my brother played D1 or D2 year 1, hasn't played in a while. He jumps back in. Like, they've made changes in weapons where there's different stuff to it now. So they've sunset weapons in a different way from what Travis said. They have random rolls on them now. They have better perks and things. They're finding different ways to sunset in quotes.
Right. But
so
so
that's why I was like, the whole idea of deleting something is like, well, how about this? Like, you know, I have the hand cannon from the Leviathan Raid. Dude, it's trash. There's so much better stuff now. That's all we ever want to say. And the idea of sunsetting is basically, instead of nerfing things and going through these cycles, you remove that like bad feeling from the equation and say, dude, there's new guns out there. They're all really cool. There's nice exotics. All that stuff you had, dude, it's outdated. It's been 3 years. How long do you need? Now you're back in. Like, that's
because we're being this to death. We do need to move on.
Yeah,
but
I know.
The final point I said, I think that Above said it best with a kind of a marketing background. It's just about the way you do things and to give the way you handle it from a marketing standpoint to a player. There's certain things that just doesn't feel good, and I don't envy them on how they're going to have to deal with that. Because at the end of the day, that's the struggle for them. Because the sunset on a base level to a casual doesn't feel good, but it's lessened with the nerf or whatever. And I think they're able to get away with that fluctuating of all right, we're buffing this, we're nerfing that, we're buffing this. Even though that may annoy the casual, to take it away from him, that is a more extreme thing. But Travis, I'll let you finish it. I'm done.
Okay.
We were going
I was
for
gonna
5
say,
hours.
if I'm a marketing guy at Bungie and I'm trying to sell casuals on the whole weapons refresh sunsetting thing, the way I'm putting it is I'm putting myself in the shoes of a casual player. And if I'm a casual player, I actually want sunsetting to happen, because if I'm casual, I'm never going to be able to keep up with the cogs of the world, right? Of the Aboves of the world. They're always going to have weapons that I don't have access to. They're always going to have that stuff that I can't get. And so a sunset at the end of as a new expansion starts, a new year of Destiny, is we're cleaning the slate. We're making all of the we're making everybody equal, and that way, if you're a casual player if you're a casual person who's fallen behind and you don't have any of these guns, now you're equal. Now's your chance to hop back on and rise and keep up with the game if you feel like you're fell behind. Because if I'm a casual player, I'm thinking I'm behind on Destiny all the time, and I can never catch up because now they're not sunsetting any of the stuff that I haven't gotten over the years. And so you can make sunsetting using marketing a good thing that helps casual players. I just think it's the way that they talk about it. They've let the narrative turn against them and let the community dominate the conversation of you aren't respecting us, when that's really not what this is about at all. It's about making a game that can be fun over multiple years and you still have stuff to do and chase.
You want to know what's disrespectful? And I'll make it a final point, is getting exotics like Tommy's matchbook. Doesn't excite me.
That's disrespectful.
Like, come on, dude. There's gotta be better ways to excite people with loot. And if it means we're getting exotics like Tommy's matchbook and Traveler's Chosen,
like, Tommy getting smoke. I love that.
That's all I'm saying, man. Like,
I mean, you take like Ruinous Effigy. It had its fun, and then it got like, hey, it got the nerf. That feels like crap. So it was like, no,
that was immediate. That one came out of left field. It was like, what?
And nobody was even feeling like, hey, this is too broken. So yeah, it's like, we have definitely beaten this to death. It's been a while since we've talked about it. It's been a while since this came up. I'm glad to see.
Our annual discussion.
Yep, our annual. But we had like, I'm glad Above and Travis were both here for it because
I love the discussion.
Yeah, it's one of those things that Bungie has the impossible task of trying to give a lot of people the incentive to play their game, be it casual, be it hardcore. And they have also the difficult task for both of those to keep it fresh. And as you said, rewarding their time. Different people are going to have a different opinion depending on their experiences and what they go through. What I feel is an entitlement is Cognito saying I'm disrespecting their time. And that is truly a different perspective depending on where you're coming from. And that's one of those things they have the impossible line to walk. And I don't envy them at all.
Don't envy them at all.
Because like it's a hard equation for them to do. And again, you've seen community feedback. Sometimes community, like the loudest spoken one is not the one that they need to listen to. And sadly, it's like sunsetting, sticking around, as Travis said, helping, the new player feel fresh every year could have been the thing that helps. But now if Witch Queen, they have to try and figure out how to manage 2.5 years of weapons going into Witch Queen to make things feel fresh and cool.
And balanced.
Yeah,
and that's a nightmare for the devs too. They have to worry about 2 years of legendary and exotic weapons. And make sure that the bosses aren't just going to fall over. Like,
for sure, absolutely.
That's a whole nother thing.
But it's like they have set the balance stuff too.
And the last thing is player population, brother. Remember, they're very analytical driven. They look at what people are doing, what they're playing, what they're not playing, and a lot of their decision making is based upon that. So sometimes those loud people do go away. So it's a tough thing. Let's move on.
Well, that was the biggest tangent I think we've had in a little while, but that's still fun. Above, sorry, we said this might go long, but maybe not. We hit the long category, so it's been a while.
It's all good.
It's been a while since we've had
canceled this man's stream. Apologies, man.
Shout out to those of you who made it this far. If you get this far in the comments, please reply somewhere or tweet at us with #longpoint. That's all you got to do. Long point. It's been a while. So
been a while. That's the first long point in a while.
Final piece of the TWAB. Do want to get to it. There you go. Grandmaster and Conqueror gilding. So back when we introduced Grandmaster, Nightfall's and Conqueror title with gilding seals, still 9 months away, we wanted to give players a hard to reach goal that measured both skill, communication, build crafting. They want to make Grandmasters tough, obviously. We added better masterworking material drops, adept weapons and mods and title grinding. Seasonal challenges and +10 season power means it never has been easier to get the pinnacle and artifact power needed for the season. I love how they list these bullet points, and I don't know if I agree with any of them. The addition of a catch-up node, which currently appears that you can buy through the season. All of these things don't strike me well, but I'm going to finish this reading and then we're going to talk about this one. Thanks to these changing, we're seeing a lot more people attempting Grandmasters. I don't know what those numbers are. Later in Season 15, so apparently not at the start, we're planning to make the following changes to Grandmaster catch-up node to let players gild their title earlier in the season, while also addressing our concerns over single strike being a boon for high-tier rewards over the last 3 weeks of a season. Grandmaster catch-up node will become available at the same time that Grandmaster difficulty is available, so as long as you have the Conqueror title but have not gilded it that season, you can use it. Each Grandmaster Nightfall will be available if the fire team leader has not completed the gilding triumph for that strike during that season. In other words, you may play each featured strike for the season to earn your gilded title. After that, you can't. Once you've gilded your title, the catch-up node will no longer be available. Okay, so 2 pieces of this. First, Above, as you do guides for these things, much less other stuff, thoughts on where Grandmasters, what they've been through with, now adding adept weapons and things like that. Where do you think Grandmasters stand at this point? And then the other gentleman, just at least from the round table, since you guys are more PvP still from what you hear. But Above, where are Grandmasters for you as an end game piece? He's going to preface this. Hold on. He's going to preface this one real quick. Yeah,
because I know Travis and Cognito are struggling on the PvP reward side, like that's or like incentive side. But
careful with the forgotten.
I actually feel like they're in a pretty good spot with gems. I feel like a lot of people, it's become a popular activity because it is the aspirational activity. They're rewarding. It keeps things fresh. You have one new one a week for 6 weeks. and it's something to work towards every season. People are like, oh, it's GM season's finally back. Like, I'm stoked to hop back in. They're very rewarding for your time in terms of exotics, ascendant shards, like all that stuff. Where I think they really and especially like the addition of adept weapons, even though we haven't had the best of adept weapons, Azumi is going to be really good. So definitely farm that one if you guys weren't planning on doing
Still
that.
wish that was Irene, but that's me.
Yeah. But like for the most part, like the adept weapon rewards, having in the ability to gild a title, I think is all great. The materials are great. I think where they're falling short right now is actually the gilding of the title itself, which it sounds like they're changing, and that's fine. I just wish that it was a permanent thing. I don't understand the whole mentality of having like the number go away at the end of the season. I find that really bizarre. Like what is the harm in having me show off that I'm a 2 or 3 time conqueror in the off season of GMs? I don't get it. You know that there's going to be a 4th one to come the following season that you're going to want to chase. I just find that really bizarre. The node change I think is good. I think Bungie's going to have nightmares on their hands, keeping that from getting exploited, and somehow people finding a way to farm Lake of Shadows at the beginning of the season. Like, I can
shout out to Lake of Shadows.
Can literally guarantee that's going to happen.
2-person carries just make the other person well, you have to have the Conqueror title.
You have to have the Conqueror title. Right?
The thing is, like, they're saying, oh, well, you know, you need to redeem, like, you need to gild the title. I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be something that comes up with that where people are just going to be farming Lake of Shadows over and over again. Well, hopefully it pans out, but knowing, you know, the community and the things that they find, I'm sure there will be some shenanigans.
Wait for Cheese Forever's video. Yeah,
exactly. And then I feel like if they introduce that that node, like, so basically the selectable playlist that happens at the end of the season, I always look forward to the end of the season because it allows me to, you know, take people to farm different GMs at the end of the season, or, you know, just have something to do to fill the time at the end of the season, which is usually like pretty slow, right? So like having the ability to do that helps people.
Next season's gonna be long.
Yeah, and next season's gonna be very long. Once you have that gone from the game, you know, maybe you don't have, you know, people don't need help with Lake of Shadows as much, right? So I don't know. You're not going to have that farming aspect. It sounds like the playlist is still going to stay intact. So like each week, you know, you have the dedicated GM, and then, you know, you can gild your title early or whatever. But the node is a good change. I hope they bring it back towards the end of the season too, and that it's not just an early season thing and it goes away. I think that would literally just bring back the problems that they solved with the node, which is. Well, actually, I guess it wouldn't, because you'd have it available if you haven't done them. But I guess like the FOMO of, you know, if you missed one out, but I guess that definitely solves it. So never mind on that point.
Good,
but I don't know. The farming aspect at the end was always kind of fun for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see. I think they need to change how the gilding of the titles works. For everything, like every single title. I think it's bizarre that it just goes away. And I think they could do more than just a number, like make the banner underneath your character like evolve and change color or glow, or like do something.
Remember
cool.
Call of Duty? Remember that? Like,
I'm just Above's in my, like, yeah, this is stuff we talked about before. Like, dude, yeah, you and I are same page.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and then at the end of the day, like, dude, cosmetics. I know that Eververse is a thing. Eververse will always, you know, probably prevent that from happening, but
it gobbles up all those cosmetics, man.
You want to, I mean, you want to keep players invested. They want to look dope. People want to know where they come from to do those activities, how they look that way. That's how it was in D1. I know that, like, I know Eververse is like a huge cause for that. Which is understandable. Businesses need to make their money, but the free to play, pay to play mix that they have going on, I feel like there needs to be. They need to find a better sweet spot, because it's ruining some of the end game incentive for the really hardcore players, and then it's
about it.
I don't know. I could go on for a long time, but anyway.
I mean, the Trials wings from D1 are the primest example of rewards where you put in the time, you kick ass at a difficult activity, and you get to look like a badass. And if you walked around the tower with a Conqueror, like, I don't know, have fun with like put a gold crown on your head that looks obnoxiously large or something ridiculous where you're like,
let me strut, let me shine.
Yeah, like do something over the top. Like you are in Conqueror. You did GMs that, how do I get, like, okay, you're like, that actually looks cool. Nothing in the tower stands out anymore.
I agree.
It could be as simple as like you literally the adept weapons that season. Yeah, there's minimal difference between an adept especially if they're going to stay to the model that they do with the adept weapons now, where it's like a very minimal difference. They slot, you know, the adept big ones mod, which is like the only thing people really care about for PvE. Give us a really cool skin for Hung Jury or Azumi, like something really cool that you grind that Conqueror title out and you earn that. Same with like Flawless. You get the Flawless title. You get some really cool skin for the Igneous Hammer that no one else has. Like that would grind for that. I think a lot of people would, and they're not even selling that in Eververse. So
preach it, brother.
I feel like that wouldn't even be that much dev resource. Obviously, I don't know anything about that, but it's like, come on, man,
weapon
it's
skins,
right there.
Yeah, no, you on it. You on it. I just to jump in real quick. I always feel that's what ornaments should have been doing.
Yeah.
Like some of these ornaments are fire for these weapons, right?
Yep.
And I get it, like you said above, it's a business. I get it, but why can't we unlock those extravagant style looking ornaments as rewards for these end game content? I always have to run over to test, you know what I'm saying, and see what's going on Tuesday. Yeah, it's like, and now it's accessible in the, you know, in the menu now. You can access tests from space.
Love that.
You can't get bounties from space still, but you can get tests from, you can do it from, I'm talking in game. Don't make me pull out my phone.
I'm so with you.
Money. Yeah.
I'll keep it short because I'll let y'all go. Yeah, I'm with 100% above on all those points, because at the end of the day, the end game stuff needs to be, especially this. You're having people going through Grandmasters and getting titles. Why are we resetting anything? Why is there a number subtracting from anything? What is so bad about this person saying, yo, he did it 5 times? Let him rock. Let him flex. He's the man. We can all shower him with our emotes when we see him come through the tower.
They sunset your gilded title and they can't sunset weapons.
That's what I'm saying.
The part that blows my mind about it too is like so many of the casual players will play the launch of a DLC, right? Like a new season Splicer comes out, they play 2 weeks, they grind, they grind the seasonal activity, whatever. But that's when those players might see that 3 or 4 above your head and be like, whoa, how did they get that? Or like some really cool skin that you have, and they'll be like, wait a minute, how did they get that? You might just pull them in to be a more of a hardcore player to actually go and figure out, okay, where the hell did they get that? Now I'm gonna go try for my Conqueror. Whereas like now that's just not a thing, because that title just disappears at the end of the season. No one knows that you've done that. It's just it's weird. It's bizarre. I don't get it.
You're right. They out here sunsetting titles.
Yes, dude.
Just saying. They're doing they'll sunset everything, but not call it sunset. It's a season reset.
Travis thought it. Travis, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I guess because the original question was like, what are your thoughts on the state of Grandmaster Nightfalls? And like for me, the biggest problem with Grandmaster Nightfalls has always
too much
been,
Fast and Furious.
He was in the Fast and Furious bag.
Fast and Furious.
I couldn't let it go.
With Grandmaster Nightfalls is that they are strikes. That's my biggest problem with them, because strikes already exist and they have a purpose of providing like this casual story focus, like, PvE game type. And then Grandmaster Nightfalls are just artificially inflated difficulty versions of those exact same events. And regardless of how rewarding they end up making those, and I think they're doing a lot better. Like I did a bunch of Grandmaster Nightfalls last season and I was like, okay, I can see I'm definitely getting a lot more out of it than I got out of Trials, unfortunately. Sad me. But I saw that part of it. But the problem is there's still strikes.
Right.
And I feel like there is a need for some other kind of game mode, like the last year of D1 where they had that Prison of Elders mode, where it was like a horde mode.
Yeah,
It was like a horde mode where you went in and you killed all the enemies in a room, accomplished a little goal, and then did a little boss fight, something like that. I just think that there needs to be some other sort of PvE mode so that I don't feel like everything in the PvE universe is either I'm doing a strikes or I'm doing a raid. And I think dungeons are another good thing. If there were an exclusive kind of short little mini raid like a dungeon that was as hard as a Grandmaster Nightfall, as long as it's new content, I'll do it. And that would be great. But this is, again, we talk about this every week. Like, what's Destiny's biggest problem? We need more content. Way easier said than done, right? Like, obviously, but that's my biggest problem is I just still think that they need to not be strikes because I'm sick of strikes. And by the time I get to doing them in Grandmaster mode, I'm just like, this is just hard just for the sake of being hard. I beat these guys last week and they were a bunch of wimps. Now they're, you know what I mean? Now they're just God tier because you made them God tier. I don't even know if it's genuine. You just decided that they're stronger than me now.
I do agree with you on that aspect. Like, in a perfect world, we would get new activities, but I think like I remember this quote from Datto from a video like a long time ago. He was like, you know, Destiny had become so wide instead of being tall and dense in like what they create. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing that you know, there's multiple levels of difficulty for these grandmasters and varying rewards. I actually think that's like healthy. I think for you, like you might not enjoy those, and they definitely need a refresh of a new core playlist. I 100% am on board with that. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing for the game. Like, it might not be the most innovative thing, but at least you're building depth on like what has made Destiny over the past 6 years. Like, strikes are a very popular game mode. And then people want to like work their way up and conquer, no pun intended, like the hardest difficulties of those playlists and get rewarded for it. I think that's cool. But yeah, like to your point, I'm like, I mean, I want something new too. Like, I want a better version of like Gambit, like a new core playlist that we can grind, which I think Witch Queen honestly
is that called
needs.
Gambit
Is like
Prime?
Yeah, remember there was gear associated that had stat bonuses
and set bonuses.
That we thought was going to be the trend. Set bonuses that we thought was going to be the trend of something moving forward that we always wanted, like Division and other games. And that.
Yeah.
Or even if they reworked Battlegrounds to be more of like the PvE endgame, if they made Battlegrounds as hard as Nightfalls and just put you in that mode, that'd be cool. They could reuse that old seasonal activity. There's a lot of potential. I just don't think it should. It's like we already retread so much ground in Destiny. Yeah. Do we really need another game mode or the end game pinnacle activity that you do once you get to the top is you do the same strikes you were doing when you were 20 power? You know what I mean?
Can I ask a question? And this goes back to the conversation of revealing dang. Okay, well. No, but it goes back to when we were talking about, you know, revealing trials maps. How cool was it last season though when they released what was it called? Proving Grounds as a GM, like on that reset, and people were in there all day. Like I remember that day. It was like an event. People were trying to figure out like how the hell do we beat this? It did feel like new and refreshed. I think part of it's like we've been playing the same strikes for 4 years now. You know what I mean? Whereas like if they were pumping in new strikes, I feel like it would keep that fresher.
Restart thing again.
It's like why did they rip so many maps out? And I know it's like assets and stuff. I know it's just they ripped too much out and now they're trying to like claw back to some level of decency, because when you rip 7 strikes out and you give us 1 and then 2 D1 strikes, which are like, it was cool like the first time, but you're like, yeah, I've done this for 3 years. Now let's just tack it onto my 4th year of viewing Devil's Lair.
That's where Travis is.
I was like, I mean, PvP maps
was cool because it was brand new. Like people actually wanted to go just like figure out what it was all about, and it was really cool.
Yeah, PvP world's like, you guys get a whole strike, part of a season. You guys can tell a whole story and build up to this seasonal thing, and you can't put one map in there, one PvP map. Like,
Yeah.
That's when it comes to
I feel like by now they might have added another PvP map by accident after 2 years. Like at this point, like they would have just done it like, oh, we didn't mean to happen. It just sort of came out of our Like it almost seems like they've intentionally not released maps. Is what I'm telling you.
It's like an accomplishment at this point.
Yeah, because there's a whole bunch of maps in D1 that they could easily put in D2. They've done it before, and they
would take the reskin at this point. Like
they went out of their way to not give me PvP content. Like
put the Rift,
put Rift back in. Yeah,
he goes like, you want modes? I was like, we have four Gambit's also by the way, Gambit is like dead in the desert somewhere because Gambit had 6 to start with, and then they just lost 2 of their 6, and it's like, and you lost most of your modes. We kind of consolidated. They took Gambit and they're like, that's all that's left.
Yep.
So I mean, and how Gambit is one of the 3 pillars when you're like, oh, Solstice is out. What do you got to do? Crucible, Gambit, or Strikes? How is Gambit even in that list when you don't even talk about it?
Imagine being a Gambit main in Destiny. We talk about PvP versus PvP.
Yeah, you're right.
Are there Gambit mains? Is this a underrepresented community? I don't know.
Yeah. I think Benji is one, but he's like the only one. No, I'm kidding. But like,
imagine a seasonal event that brings a new map. Like as a seriously,
we got such low expectation. This is pathetic.
I mean, what if it was even the reward?
We're begging for the
end of the
bare minimum.
We get enough participation. They bring out the map. I mean, that's maybe not the best idea, but you get the point. Like, what if Solstice brought a new strike or like
Epilogue? Hold on, Epilogue
Duos, whatever that was, brought a new PvP map. Like, dude, that would be so cool.
What if
Epilogue opens up
content in Destiny? Was the
Epilogue opens up the Scourge Camp as a PvP arena, close range, just that little, and it's like Epilogue opens up a PvP map, and everybody loses their mind, and still Europa's over there like, yep, we're still waiting on my snow level. How you doing?
Yeah, that one blows my mind.
I still don't understand.
And we lose 13 PvP maps. Like, what? That's crazy.
Oh, Stockholm, bro. We've been beaten into submission.
Man.
Yeah.
Shave me, Cog. Shave me.
That's where we at now. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
I want to preface, we all do love this game.
We love Bungie. Come on, we do it. We don't talk about this if we don't love it.
Destiny would talk about Destiny the way we are right now.
We do.
Top of them, like how dare you say that?
How dare you?
They came in with smoke. Yeah, we be on their head.
Yeah, you can't talk about my game like that. Only I can talk about my game like that.
Only I can talk about my baby in this abusive relationship.
Oh my god.
Great.
So yes, this is what the joys of passion and the Stockholm Syndrome make a weird concoction of hoping for the future. And I feel like that's what we always do in Destiny is
hope for the future.
What?
Isn't that appropriate?
Paul McCartney. Hope for the future.
There you go. Yeah. So that feels like what we're always doing in this game is hoping for the future because we always see Destiny as the game of potential and it has been the franchise of potential. And we're always like, hey, what about sunsetting? Or maybe PvP. We always want something more. And then we're just, and then somehow we've had these weird steps recently. So
hey, Ian,
I was going to ask.
When you edit this episode, can you put Hope for the Future in the background of you just talking right now? Like, is it possible to just get that song and just kind of like make it kind of rise a little bit and then go away while you?
Fortunately, in the world of copyright strikes, I'm not touching that. No. Not even gonna fathom that one because that will just, if you hum the tune too much, I'm probably gonna get flagged. So. But before we go, I wanted to ask a quick ask of each of you guys on here because I've asked some of these guys, but above you get the main one. If you got 2 or 3, that's totally fine because you're the main one. As we wrap, we've set it on, and I keep saying this, and I kind of feel like I'm probably beating a horse here, but Witch Queen, we talk about it. We keep looking out for it, and we keep saying these things, and I keep feeling that there's more and more weight put on it as things like these discussions happen. You're like, how are Grandmaster, titles going away? Or are adept weapons really worth it? All these things we wonder about, and then there's this thing called Witch Queen, which has been delayed, and we keep waiting and hoping. For you, what does Witch Queen need to deliver to kind of be a win? Not saying things have been losses lately because the story's been good and seasons are good, but I know season 15 is going to still probably be mostly my Tuesday game for story people and stuff like that. And then you'll have some grinding and you'll do your GMs, but it's like you're going to have about a 6-month season. There's going to be a point where what are the things in Witch Queen that you want to see?
If I were to watch the trailer on the 24th and get hyped, the 3 things I would want to see would be one, like if they put them into separate pillars in that trailer, and I were to say these 3 things would make it a win, it'd be building out their core playlist. So it'll say, maybe they're like 5 new strikes, 5 new like brand new PvP maps, trials rejuvenated, something like that. They go and they address their core modes. The second would be one of our biggest raids ever. If they use that phrasing, and I know that that's probably bigger than the standard 4 encounter raid, it's closer to Last Wish size, I'd be very excited about that. And then the third would be if they announced another endgame destination. I felt like that was the best thing they ever did for an expansion, was with Dreaming City having an aspirational location. It kept it fresh from the day 1 grind when you're sitting there. Your eyes are starting to do the whole thing where you can barely see anymore because you've been on the game for 12 hours. You're grinding through the story. You get to that point, and then all of a sudden you're just rejuvenated because you reach this brand new area and it's all brand new. Whereas like with Beyond Light, it's like, okay, I've been to these areas 15 times now playing through the story. Now I'm going back to the same point, later on in the end game. It doesn't feel as special. So I feel like if they broke those out again, they said there's an end game destination, big raid, and they're building up their core playlist, I'd be really, really happy.
Fire.
Nice. Travis, Cog, if you guys got one, kind of, this is like your Witch Queen please, if you will.
Yeah, I have one. And I actually thought about this week, which is I would like, if I could get one thing from the Witch Queen expansion, I would like them to break the mold that they've been in for the past year and a half. I think the worst thing about Destiny right now, it's so easy to say that. One of the worst things about Destiny right now is that we always know what's going to happen every season because they've got this sort of rhythm. And the fact that we know it is making it more grating to me. The fact that I know that there's going to be some sort of public event like activity every season that I'm going to have to grind a lot. The fact that there's going to be that artifact that I have to grind a lot. It's like before the season even comes out, I'm already nauseated by the grind that I know that it's had because there's no surprises. The formula hasn't been mixed up at all. And that to me is the biggest threat looming across Witch Queen, is that it shows up and it's exactly what we think it's going to be. And if it's that, it's going to be disappointing no matter what. So I just want them to try new stuff. I want them to I think of Destiny 1, that final year after Rise of Iron, where things were just weird. Like they did that thing where they re-released all the raids and all of them had all these cool new armor sets you could chase. And they added that horde mode, Prison of Elders. And they just did a whole bunch of stuff that was just weird and new, and it made us kind of go well, now I want to know what's going to happen next. I have no idea. What does the future of Destiny look like? And I feel one of the biggest problems right now is that we know exactly what the next season of Destiny is going to look like, and it's so unexciting that we know what it's going to look like. I don't know the details. I don't know what the public event activity is going to be. I don't know what the artifact's going to be. I don't know the specifics of the story, but I know 85% before the opening credits have even rolled, and I hate that.
Yeah. The mystery. And it goes back to the same thing as the Dreaming City. All those secret quests that you found and the Ascendant challenges. They didn't tell us about any of that stuff. And that's what makes Destiny fun. And when you go and do Presage for the first time, or you stumble upon the Whisper mission, more of that.
Oh yeah, of course.
If they literally just put secrets in the middle of the screen for the trailer for 5 seconds, I'd be stoked. That's what makes it special.
It's that piece is where they're always walking the marketing line of the calendar for the seasons, especially, which is tough because how do I sell a season if I just say season of the Splicer? Somebody's like, okay. And they want to sell that stuff before it even launches. So people jump in, have the big launch day, population numbers go up, all that fun stuff. They can be like, hey, here's Presage. Here's, you've got Expunge on there. Now, we already knew that was going to happen. I was like, all right, so that was a thing. And then we knew what was going on. But then, as Travis said, it's as soon as you see that, you're like, it called most of the season when we saw that calendar. I was like, we've got the 6 weeks of the mission we're going to go through. I didn't know there was going to be corrupted. Fine. We got the as you said, kind of the public event thing. We got those pieces, and then somewhere in there, everybody keeps expecting, is there going to be like an exotic quest? Not this late in the season, because if you don't get the exotic now early in the season, so you get time to experience it and then farm it for these random rolls or other things, now we're like, okay, are we on this cadence of, hey, if you don't get the exotic in the first couple weeks, there's probably not going to be one. It's like Travis said, that's shaking up the formula would probably be honestly one of the best things, but it's also one of the hardest things I think right now, because if they're working on building the 2.5 times big studio, they're trying to expand the IP, they're trying to go with what works, but they're also at a point where they need to shake it up just as much. That is probably one of the biggest asks, but I also know it's what would do it the most good, I think, if they can deliver. And that's the big thing. That's why I keep saying, take all the damn time you need. I got enough shit to play. Sorry.
Thanks. No, would you, bro? Yeah, I mean, you guys killed it. All the points valid. Not too much I can add on. The only thing I would say is that I think for me, expansions always represent fundamental core gameplay and mechanic changes and idea change, structural changes. And I do want to. I'm with Travis. Like, I do want to see different. I do want to see them, change up significantly on things that have been neglected for a long time. For me, it's always going to be, the PvP stuff. It's always going to be the exotic armor stuff, the legendary armor stuff, the way armor, it just for right now just doesn't have any significant value or usage, and it doesn't feel safe, especially now with transmog. Because now it's like, well, I'm just going to keep this god roll stat I already got of one piece of armor and change it to the look I want, and that's it. So, I really want those core. I think what happens is they dip their toe and then they never go back. Like when we talk about like the Gambit Prime armor stuff, like, we've been screaming for years. We want those set bonuses, right? To sometimes to get us out of the crux of always having to wear an exotic, right? If you had those meaningful bonuses when you have a full set of something, right? Then, it makes me now play differently, you know what I'm saying? And value something differently. Also, narratively, I think they're good. But we do need proper payoff. There's pressure on this Savathûn payoff. It needs to hit. This is the Taken Queen. Above it didn't play it yet, but Taken King is legend. It is iconic. It is transformative. It has to reach that level. This has to be one of those moments where people who were not talking about Destiny go, wait a minute. Okay. I need to see that Ty Guy Travis review when it's, and he's like, yo, this changed the game. Destiny's in a new place. It's rejuvenated. They've addressed the issues. And one could hope, like you said, with this time that they're taking, right? That all this extra time that hopefully, this is the last thing. It does bother me when they said we're never going to get a Forsaken level style expansion. That didn't sit well with me because I felt like that was one of the greatest moments in Destiny. Like how above, how you champion it, right? Everything you said, the story, the narrative, the unlocking of a secret mode, the transitioning from a raid into the storyline, the curse, the dungeon, it was beautifully done. And it was this continual thing from narrative to gameplay to everything. And yeah, it makes me sad that they say, yo, we're not going to get that. And I hope the extra time affords some time into that, because I think Destiny's at its best when it's that. So that's all I got. I'm hoping for them. I'm pulling. We bitched and we moaned, but I'm pulling for them, man. I'm pulling for them. I love this game. I think it's some of the best mechanics, ever. And we just need to just do a little rejuvenation, and hopefully they can pull it off and get everybody. Get E smiling again. Get that content going again. Get him his armor, y'all. Get him his armor.
Yeah, I was like, I want an armor. I have to have an armor 3.0 or I'm going to lose my mind.
Dude.
Like, seriously, to a point. Like, I mean, as you said, you got a good set of armor right now. Cool. Like, why are you more than half my gear really does not change hardly anything about the game, especially if you've got a reasonable set already. If you've got an Arc Solar and Void set, especially Masterwork, you don't need another piece of armor to drop, period.
Facts.
All you're doing is, and then the infusion, and honestly, which leads me to my bigger thing. My one big ask, leveling has got to be addressed. That's my one want, is the whole world of what is leveling in this game. The 10 points I mean, Dado talked about it in his video, you know.
Tassie got a good one on it.
Yeah, and it's like, and he said it too, it's like, why am I leveling? Do you take the level and grind out of Destiny for the seasons? Is that going to be weird? But then if you have the big expansion, then what's the point in the 10? If you put contest on everything, then does leveling even matter? I don't know how they figure out leveling, but this current setup, it sucks, unfortunately. Yeah. It doesn't feel good. And the 50 wasn't working. They went back to the 10, which they already said wasn't working. So it's weird that they went back at all. So I'm just hoping, and no offense if any of you guys ever watch this, we still like your game. Believe me, I still log in Stockholm Syndrome and all and play it. But it's this weird thing of like, I would love that to change. I would love armor to mean something, and I would love leveling to be done in a different way to where it doesn't feel quite so bad.
Yeah. I think they increase the level cap every year during a big expansion, and then they leave it for the entire year. That's what they used to do. And I think that model worked because it meant that you getting to that pinnacle was respected for another year rather than being respected for like a week. Like you reach the maximum, and then the next week, the next season starts, and you're already behind again. And that's just it makes the grind feel pointless. Whereas if you get to the max 3 months in, and then you know you're good for the next 9 months or to whenever the next expansion comes out, you're like, all right, well, for 9 months that paid off. Like that, I feel like that's the way they need to do it, or something similar. And they need to get rid of artifact leveling. That's just so. What the hell? I don't
artifact penalty for resetting and trying different builds.
I mean, oh my god, I hate that too.
Started with that.
I was like, that's another. Go for it. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, if there was one other thing I would want.
There's about 50, but go for one. Yeah.
I want. I don't know. I mean, I want the boss to live up to the expectations. Like Savathun's been hyped up for so long. I hope, like, because every raid boss we get, they're either some no-name boss that like or they're like returned bosses, or like, you know, I mean, look at Garden of Salvation boss. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like,
facts. Preach it.
In my mind, like, come on, I'm sure deep in the lore somewhere he's of significance, but like in terms of the main storyline that everyone's been following since D1, I would love for us to have a story, like a long fleshed out story where, you know, there's this back and forth with Savathun. You know, we've been leading up with all this story. If we just go in and in the main story kill Savathun, or like there's no back and forth in the story of Witch Queen, and then I mean, I hope it's a struggle and we get to the raid and the boss is really, really hard. Yes. And maybe you even meet her in an early encounter and she beats your ass, and then you have to go back and fight her as the final boss again.
You need to play Taken King, but that's a whole different.
He need to play Taken King. Bro, I was going to say that. Addresses everything you.
Taken King literally did it the way you just said, and that's why
Taken King has a problem though, which is I would say that you need to do even one better, which is if Savathun is the main villain of the Witch Queen expansion, she needs to be alive the entire year. And we meet her at the end when she's no longer a problem. Right. Or she doesn't even get killed. She just gets chased off, or, you know, walks away with her tails between her legs. But I think that Destiny not having long-term characters, and especially long-term villains that stick around because they get galled or they get, you know, just destroyed like way too early. I mean, dude, he was the perfect example.
Yeah,
great guy, lots of potential, died way too early.
Way too quick. Yeah, I agree.
I just think that they need to keep their villains around longer. And if Savathun dies at any point during the launch window, I think that is
it got to be in a raid. If it's she's gonna die, she got that raid. And I just want to jump
even if she dies in the raid, I think that's too soon, because then what we've known her for 2 weeks then versus 1. You know what I mean?
Like her up. They built
her up, but we're not going to see her.
Picture the person who comes back. Picture the person who played the seasonal the expansion. Didn't play the seasons too much, and be like, hey, I'm back for the next expansion. Things seem cool. Hey, Savathun's here. Cool, she's gone. Like, as he's saying, if
also,
they need her.
Cog, you're talking about player retention. What's going to retain players more than an ongoing villain that you don't beat right away, that stays season to season, and who you're having this back and forth with?
I know you go.
I
just think balance. Because a lot of it lives in the lore, or like the very deep story. If you follow it, like, yeah, Savathun's been a presence, but we don't see her. If you if you saw Savathun and you knew what you were dealing with, and like maybe that happens next season. Maybe we see her for the first time. Who knows? Like, I have no idea.
Right. Right.
But
No, I
I
get it.
hope they introduce her like a season or two before we end up killing her,
Right.
because then it
Agreed.
adds more weight to when it actually happens. You're actually building up to this moment instead of, oh, we're going and doing these missions. We never see her. You know, we see Nokris here and there, who's like, you
Yeah.
know, her errand boy or whatever. But like, you know, we never actually, you don't have that moment of build up. And I would love
Yeah.
that.
I say you
Right.
can fight her in the campaign of the raid. You can even beat her in the campaign of the raid, but don't kill her. Make her
Right.
stick around. Make her have more plans down the
Sounds like
road and more
Kingsfall.
confrontations.
Yeah. Last
But
point I'll say,
Kingsfall had the same problem, in my opinion.
I thought Kingsfall was fire.
You
But
don't.
I mean,
It's great, but you don't get to know orcs for longer than what? How long was it till the raid came out? Like 2 weeks after the expansion, and then you
Probably
know what I
something
mean?
like that.
They should have kept.
yeah.
They should have kept orcs around for longer because he was
I
great
feel you.
and too short lived.
My only thing I would say is just that and I'm done. Whatever they do, I just want them to really play on the deception aspect of her in the
Yeah.
encounter. Like I want multiple versions, us being deceived, our senses, like something that plays into her being the witch queen of deception and trickery. And that to me, if they can somehow play on that, I'd be good with whatever they want to do. Extended, killer. I need that aspect of her personality to
my God.
shine. Yeah.
I can feel it now. Deception's veil, some debuff
Woo!
you get that like.
That's the name of the ring. I like it.
My
I
God,
like
I
it.
love that.
I like that name. It's fire.
Oh man.
Well, on
Something
that
like that.
bombshell, we should probably wrap this thing up and let this man get to
They
his
kept this
evening.
man hostage. Jesus
We
Christ.
have had a fun set of debates, though. It's been good.
Yeah,
It's been fun
passionate.
chats.
Flown by.
For
It's
what has
flown
been a
by.
relatively quiet week, we managed to beat Destiny like, many times during this podcast. So it's always fun. But before we go, as we tend to like to do, to give the guests a chance to basically shout out themselves. This time is
Oh,
yours. So tell us what you like doing, where to find you, what you got going on, and basically like what to expect from you. If you got any cool stuff in the future, if you have your next God roll that you might put on the line, whatever. It's all time is yours. The platform is yours. Chat.
I am above. I stream 5 days a week at twitch.tv/above. I also do guides on my YouTube channel. I focus a lot on endgame content like GMs, Master VOG, that sort of thing. And this Saturday we'll actually be doing Grandmaster Gauntlet, which is a game show I host in the GM playlist that makes it even more brutal than they're intended to be. Like this week we're going to be doing a abilities and no weapons run, like so only abilities and supers GM run. So we'll have to like nuke champions, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll be joined by Sweat and Clyde for that one, so that'll be a lot of fun.
The homies.
A lot of screaming and shenanigans inbound. So if you want to check that out, that'll be live on Saturday. And then that's pretty much it. I love Destiny, and I'm excited for Witch Queen.
No doubt, the legend, man. Salute, brother. You killing it. You killing it, man. Love what you're doing. That y'all gotta watch that he be doing. And then if they fail it, they deleting they god rolls and all that. Bro, they got the stakes high. It's like Wheel of Fortune and with your loot on the line.
That's just terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. See, they're willing to delete their god rolls, and people are worried about respecting their time. My God, I want to keep it. And they're over here saying they're gonna delete it. So
we got 60 days to the new season. We got time.
They're good. Travis, what you got cooking that you can talk about? Just the hard
I can
part
talk
for
about
you.
most of my stuff. I do have an idea for Savathun debuff. Enable friendly fire. That would be a great one.
There you go.
Nova Bomb just nukes your whole team.
So toxic.
Enable friendly fire as one of her
that
effects.
would be beautiful.
This week I did a bunch of stuff for IGN. My review of Zelda Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD went live today, which you can check that out on IGN.com. I've also been doing a bunch of previews from McCaffrey's team, and you can read about the Steam Deck on our site, which we have coverage for all month long as part of IGN First. I'm also here. And I'm working on an upcoming review. I think I can talk about it. Chris Tales, if you guys are familiar with that game. I'll be reviewing that. Just got a code for that today, so I'll be working on that over the weekend.
Nice. Awesome. Looking at that Skyward Sword right now. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
please do.
gave it
the
in
dulcet tones of me.
Gave it the
talking about-
Ocho.
I'm looking. Yeah. I'm looking.
He was
Oh,
on
yeah.
ESPN The Ocho for that one. So
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, salute,
What about
I didn't give it a 10 out of 10 like our reviewer in 2011, but
no doubt.
Sir Cog, where is Mr. Hoity Toity going to be hanging out this week?
Oh, brother. Here we go. I'm not going to be doing anything but doing the last word with my mans.
with your
And of
scepter in
course,
hand.
with my scepter.
Crown on
With
his
my-
head.
With my royal goblet.
And he has somebody waving the big banana leaf and feeding him grapes.
Yeah.
No,
His
man, salute.
manservant.
Oh my God. First off, salute above, man. Definitely glad to have you in. Glad for E for putting me onto your content. Love your analytical approach. Even when you disagree, I disagree. I was like, I like his points. He makes some good passionate points. I like it. You know what I'm saying? Now, but good conversation. Love it. It was great to have you. Always welcome you back, especially if they do sunset, because then you can do your victory lap.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah,
Thank
you and
guys
I just
for
be
having
sitting
me.
there in the corner with the frown face, and you and Eve be like, yeah. No, but it's all good. But yeah, man. Like I said, for me, our podcast this Sunday, no guests. We're just keeping it with the Lords. So we'll be talking about all the latest, hottest discussions. Obviously, that Steam Deck is going to be brought up. We're going to talk about reviewing easy games. That will be another topic. And Travis, we may have to talk offline about that one. But yeah, check us out, man. Sunday, 1 p.m. Iron Lords podcast. Check us out there. And then obviously, Defining Duke. So, again, salute everybody. Thank you for all the love. Truly overwhelming. It's just been really, really cool to see everybody kind of support me and get behind that. And again, shout out to Maddie for making the decision. And we've been rocking. So yeah, check that out. Defining Duke. The free version will be released also on Sunday. So right before Iron Lords podcast, you guys can get the episode. If you're a part of the Patreon, you can get that earlier. It's already out now, the latest episode. So yeah, check that out. And of course, Lords of Gaming.net, support the home team. They're doing their thing. We're not as extensive as Travis, but we try with what we got. And then yeah, man.
Hey, I read your articles, just so you know.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that. And of course, the last word, back home at the campfire. I knew I was gonna get slandered for being Hollywood for missing 1 week. But I'm back. This is where I like to be. Talking that Destiny talk is very cool. And E, I gave you a nice plug on Defining Duke. When you listen to it, you'll like it. We talk. Actually, one of the writers asked about what they should do for Destiny and stuff like that. So I was like, you gotta listen to the last word. I can't give you everything.
Cognito bump, E.
Exactly. I gotta give him. I gotta give him that stimulus package. But anyway, salute to y'all.
There's a joke in there somewhere. I'm just gonna blow right past it.
Anyway, but salute, man. Good to have Travis and E in the realm talking that Destiny talk. What's up, E? What about you, man?
For me, yeah. So I got about 2.5 weeks basically before I go on vacation. So I'll be gone early August, like 6th and 13th. I'm gonna miss both of those Fridays. So I will miss Epilogue. Okay. But I'd rather miss that than the start of a whole new season. So I'm off the 24th. You guys will see me live there. I am going to be trying to we'll see if we might do a couple shows without me hosting. It might look different, but we might have a couple of these two gentlemen chatting with you.
For that, because I'm not good at Twitch.
I'm expert at taking over for other hosts.
Yeah,
it's actually I guess it's my thing now. It's my kink, I guess.
I'm just gonna get kicked out, and it's gonna turn the Iron Lord's last word, and all of a sudden I'm out of here. I'm like, where'd he go? But no, honestly, wanted to thank Above. Appreciate your time. I know we kept you long. Thank your stream for the delay. We appreciate that. If they want to catch this, it'll be on my YouTube channel, Iron Lords Podcast YouTube channel, and then just like RSS feeds basically everywhere. So if you want to tell them where you've been, but honestly, appreciate you coming on, taking the time. And also it's been an awesome conversation because when we get into tangents like we do,
love it.
You definitely held your own and you had opinions, and it was a perfect time to have a GM guy on to give your opinions about all this stuff. So it was a great time to have you here. And honestly, sometimes just timing works out. So thank you for your time. Huge respect for everything that you do, and shout out to your community who's been blowing it up in here today. So thank you guys who are also in chat. But as we wrap,
so much. I just want to say one more time, even though we went long, it was an absolute blast of a discussion, and it was a pleasure to meet all you guys. So thank you for having me on.
Love that technical Destiny talk. You killed it, brother.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be going to go raid Evan F 1997.
Oh, the F.
So we're going to raid
Beautiful.
Evan. Had him on a little
Yes.
while back if you guys caught him, but this man is King Retrospective. We talked to him before. He is
Historian.
ultimate. So we're going to go raid him, send the love over to his channel. If you guys find this on other places, check him out as well as above, literally everywhere, above TP on Twitter, above on Twitch. Good times there. So thank you all very much. Let's wrap this thing up. Episode number 158, July 16th. It was a long one, but it was an excellent one. And for this episode, it has been the last word.